I agree. Trump reacts to the Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, the turtle, being heckled and booed during a speech in Kentucky. Have you guys seen this? This is pretty funny stuff. Here's Mitch McConnell speaking, and he has to just power through it because he's being heckled and booed while he's up there on stage. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
Inflation. We're up against folks who closed schools and then told you that teachers unions know what's best for your kids. We're up against folks who'd rather let repeat offenders walk free than get tough on crime. I'm glad Governor Beshear finally decided to come to Fancy Farm. It's been the first Saturday in August for 143 years. But Andy only seems to make time for you all when he's staring down Election Day.
Oh, that's embarrassing. So Donald Trump, he gets out there on Truth Social and he goes, I agree. Boo! Retire! Retire! So what's really funny about all of this is I came across this. Mitch McConnell practically had a stroke while giving a speech. And these idiot corporate journalismers are getting out there and they're worried about Donald Trump's health. Okay. Whatever you say, corporate journalismers. And I love it. Donald Trump, he was in New Hampshire, and he was in this really hot room giving a speech, and he really was getting the room riled up. I mean, this indictment is having the opposite effect. Donald Trump is bigger. I mean, there's numbers that have come out. I think 70% of Republicans would vote for Donald Trump if he was not only convicted, but if he was behind bars. So if he's sitting in a jail cell, Republicans would vote for him over any other guy. So let's take a listen to this. Donald Trump, he was in New Hampshire, and he talks about how the corporate journalism media is going to kind of spin how he's sweating up there on stage. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
And by the way, I want to say officially for the press, it's about 110 degrees in this room. Nice job with the air conditioning, whoever. But you know what the press will say? You know what they'll say? Trump didn't look well. He was extremely wet. It's 104 or 5 degrees in this room. But we're okay with it, right?
There's new reporting this morning on a secret memo. No.
I mean, I'm sweating. No, I'm just saying I'm sweating that much. Do you think he's
in a million different ways?
healthy?
I don't think he's
you think he's unhealthy? You just don't. I mean, Marco Rubio didn't sweat that much.
Correct.
Ron DeSantis doesn't sweat that much.
Anyhow.
That was a lot of sweat.
Yes. New reporting on a secret memo that laid out the plot to overturn the 2020 election. We're going to go through that major development in just a moment. Meanwhile, we're getting a better idea of the timing for the next possible indictment for the former president.
So there you have it. I mean, he called it. He was like, okay, these people are going to, I can see it now, what these people are going to do. They're going to come out and say that Trump is looking very unwell because he's sweating. It's 104 degrees in that room. He's in a full 3-piece suit. And the next morning, Morning Joe Scarborough, he goes, do you think he's well? Is he sweating too much? Does he seem unhealthy to you? That's what Morning Joe does. It's hilarious. But yet they won't say anything about Joe Biden. Now let's do Joe Biden. Now let's do Mitch McConnell. Are they well? Because I watched Mitch McConnell practically have a stroke while he was giving a speech up there at a podium. And you guys are going to talk about Donald Trump. Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. I'm Kat Peterson. You can also see me live in the studio and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's Kat Peterson 929. That would really help me out, guys. Smash the like button if you're watching. We have so much to get through today. I've got Joe Biden flipping out on Peter Doocy for asking him to his face about calling into Hunter Biden's business meetings on speakerphone. So that's according to Devin Archer. And in his testimony, he reveals that Joe Biden was on speakerphone during these business meetings. So we're going to get into that. Plus, this story, I didn't really cover this one, but there's been new developments, and I'm very proud of this Stockton, California mayor because he's announced now that the 7-Eleven workers are not being charged for this epic beatdown of this looter. So looters came in, they tried to loot the 7-Eleven, then the employees of the 7-Eleven responded to that by beating down this looter who's trying to rob them. And throughout the country, throughout the nation, I've brought you stories. I mean, this Circle K woman, there was a Lowe's employee where if you engage with the looter, the rioter, if you engage with the criminal as they're trying to steal from you, a lot of these times, these corporations like Lowe's, Circle K, they'll come after you. They'll come after you, not the criminal. They'll be like, "Why would you engage a criminal? Why would you try to defend yourself? That's absolutely crazy, and that's against our policy. You can't do that. We're gonna sue you, and we're gonna fire you." So that's really exciting to see that the California mayor, and kind of shocking actually, that he isn't going after the 7-Eleven workers. Rather, he's gone after this looter. So he said the store clerks were not and have never been suspects for any kind of crime. So that's exciting. And then a little bit later, Ron DeSantis removes yet another woke SOROS-backed prosecutor. So this comes after 2 police officers were shot. If you really want my opinion, I think that Ron DeSantis should have done this earlier. He's the only governor doing it in the nation, which, I mean, deserves a round of applause. He's the only person doing it. But I think he should have done it earlier. And this just proves Ron DeSantis needs to stay in Florida. He's too valuable there. Doocy is back. He had a few months off because he had a beautiful child, beautiful baby. He had a few months off for paternity leave, but he returned providing us beautiful content and wonderful content as usual. Peter Doocy. Joe Biden welcomed him back, welcomed Peter Doocy back with an old man meltdown over Doocy having the stones here to do his job as a journalist. Doocy walked up to Biden and then asked him a question. He just walked up to him and asked? How rude. What? I've never heard of this. Yes. So, of course, it was a question about Hunter Biden's shady business dealings, and Joe would allegedly call. It was about how Joe would allegedly call into his second favorite son's business meetings with foreign business partners. Of course, I say second favorite son. His favorite son is definitely Beau Biden. But that's what Peter Doocy wanted to ask the question about. And he just walks up to him and asks him the question. And I want to go back into the Wayback Machine. I remember this very distinctly. Jen Psaki, when she was press secretary, she had this exchange with a reporter out of the New York Post. Quick reminder, the newspaper that broke the story about Hunter Biden's laptop was the New York Post. So the New York Post, they actually had their Twitter account taken away after they broke that very real, true story about Hunter Biden. It's a level of censorship, pervasive censorship that's actually crazy. But Jen Psaki, she had this exchange with a reporter from the New York Post. And just pay attention to how she dodges this question and how she refuses to allow journalists to, I don't know, do their job and ask questions. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
Go ahead.
If it'll work.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I always don't know. I don't
We're
know why
moving
this
on
isn't
because we
working.
got to get some more people. Go
So
ahead.
Rumble videos just never want to work for me. I'm going to have to try to fix that. But what Jen Psaki says in this is that she practically shushes the reporter. She says, nope, you can't ask that question, essentially. And the exchange is really quite wild between Jen Psaki and this New York Post reporter. So this has been something that has gone on for a long time. It's not just Kieran Jean-Pierre. It's not just this administration. It's Jen Psaki. They do not like when reporters ask questions. And, we're not done here, Jen Psaki. You need to answer the question. So this is the exchange with Peter Doocy and Joe Biden. So Peter Doocy gets out there and he asks Joe Biden about Hunter Biden's business dealings and how Joe Biden was always on the phone when Hunter Biden was in these business meetings on speakerphone. So let's take a listen. Here we go.
Your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them talking business. Is that what?
Never talk business to anybody. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Thank you. There's this testimony now
There's Peter Doocy
where
asking not a loud question, but a question that needs to be answered. Before, as your son's associate is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with him during these business meetings, right? And Joe Biden says, I never talked about business with anybody. I knew you'd have a lousy question. You know, the Doocy then says, why is that a lousy question? Because it's not true. See, this is amazing because the goalpost is always moving about how much money Joe Biden actually made from these foreign business partners. And the goalpost just keeps moving. First, Joe never discussed business with Hunter. Then they moved the goalpost. Joe never talked with Hunter about his business partner. And then they moved it again. Joe Biden never discussed business with Hunter's business partner. Okay, this is first like never discussed. And then now they say you can't prove that $20 million going through 20 different Biden shell companies was actually paid to Joe. So now they're saying that, oh, you can't prove that all of this money was paid to Joe Biden. So Kate Berner, she's a journalist and blue check journalist. So Politico, they revealed this story about the House Oversight Committee chair, James Comer, rolling out this new memo that definitely, in fact, proves that $20 million in payments went from entities or individuals in Russia and Ukraine to Biden family members. This is just cold, hard facts. The House Oversight Chairman, James Comer, sent out a memo. Now, if you ask me, I think Republicans, this is cold, hard facts. You need to start drafting up some impeachment. Okay, draft up an impeachment and have the cold, hard facts. He was receiving money from oligarchs, from foreign oligarchs, and it was funneled into his family's account. So Kate Berner, she's out there and she says, well, this memo doesn't show direct payments to Joe Biden. What? So now they're going to say that you can't prove that these $20 million that went to the Biden family shell companies, you're going to try to say that that wasn't actually paid to Joe Biden. It doesn't matter. They're Joe Biden's companies, and you're laundering money through those companies. So, yeah, Doocy's question about Devin Archer's testimony that he sold access to Joe, that he and Hunter Biden sold access to Joe, and that Hunter put Joe on the phone with the clients over 2 dozen times. That's what Devin Archer said. I think this is the first time he's ever been truly asked about that by a reporter. I think that's kind of strange, considering that we have Devin Archer's testimony about the Ukrainian energy company that paid Hunter Biden all of this ludicrous amount of money for a job that he had no experience in. And this is a little bit of the testimony. I'm just going to read it to you. Devin Archer says, while they were sitting outside at the bar, a senior Burisma executive phoned to ask where they were because Burisma owner, Bakula Zolotevsky, needed to speak with Hunter urgently. Soon afterward, the two Ukrainians joined Hunter and Archer at the Four Seasons bar, and then the senior Burisma executive asked Hunter, can you ring your dad? So this was testimony. I mean, they were talking with Joe Biden on the phone several times. Devin Archer's testimony came at the heels of a confidential FBI source stepping forward to say that Hunter and Joe Biden, both of them, told the CEO of Burisma, to retain his president son on his seat, sitting on the board. Which came on the heels of course, this confirmation that the FBI knew that the Hunter Biden laptop was real the entire time, and then it came on the heels of this whistleblower testifying before Congress. Now, this whistleblower was somebody who worked on the Hunter Biden tax investigation case, and this whistleblower said that there were a lot of people in Joe Biden's government that didn't want anybody working the Hunter Biden tax investigation. Doocy, he's still getting readjusted, being back to work, but let's give him some time because I'm sure that he's going to have a few more whoppers. But to hear Joe Biden snap at him for he goes, "I know you have a lousy question." Why is that a lousy question? I'm literally working off of Kevin Archer's testimony that says that you would be on speakerphone with these business partners of mine and Hunter's. That's what Kevin Archer said in his testimony. Deuce just asked about the testimony. I'll be back here on the Morning Buzz. You can always text in. You can see me live in studio. That's on YouTube. You can text in 309-451-9299 or find me on YouTube at Cap Peterson 99. Hi, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. Peter Doocy is such a deplorable, right? Then the investigators have done a pretty good job. They followed the money and they have timelines associated with those transactions, just waiting for the gun. I think they have it, and Joe is so delusional, arrogant, and audacious enough to keep up the charade. So, what do you think? What should Republicans do? And me, I'm thinking that Republicans should start the impeachment process right away. I think they've got enough. They need to get their ducks in a row, and they need to impeach Joe Biden. They've got enough. And look, if, if Joe Biden, if he was in Arizona, Kentucky, and he committed these crimes, it should be prosecuted. He should be indicted, like they do with our politicians, right? Their politicians, and we should do the same thing in these red states, these Republican states, uh, and we should be indicting Joe Biden for these crimes. Specifically, I mean, he even had these classified documents. I mean, we need to be working on getting indicted. Find a prosecutor, friendly DA in one of the good areas, and indict Joe Biden. If they are going to do it, then we need to do it. Okay, so that's my whole thought on it. I think that we need to start the impeachment process right now. I'm sorry, but a memo. You're gonna write a memo about how Joe Biden was getting $20 million funneled into the Biden family shell companies, and I mean, you've got reporters out there from Politico saying, "Oh well, you can't prove that it went directly to Joe Biden." No, but it went to the Biden family shell companies. If you guys are watching, go ahead and smash that like button. We're going to be back in just a little bit. One thing that I want to get through today is this California mayor, and I just want to give this guy a round of applause because he's announced now that these 7-Eleven workers, and I feel like this is, in America in 2023, we should not be surprised that these workers are not charged for this beatdown of this youth. Typically, especially in states like California, Illinois, blue states, what happens is the looter or the criminal gets a pass, and for some odd reason, people who defend themselves, I'm looking at up in New York, we have that guy, um, the Michael Jackson impersonator who, had like 40 federal, 40 different um, charges against him at some point and has been in and out of the system, and he was engaging people in the subway. I'm blanking on his name for some reason. You're blanking on his name. Jordan Neely. Okay, yes, Jordan Neely is the guy who um, was in this chokehold, and the guy who pulled his name. Sorry, you guys remember his name? Just throw it in the comment section. I'm like, looking for this guy's name. I can't find him. Um, yeah. So typically, people who defend themselves are always the bad guys anymore in America. And I was thinking that this guy was going to, um, or that these people in the 7-Eleven were going to face a bunch of legal crap, and they were going to be fired from the job, blah, 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 for engaging this group. So a lot of times what happens is, uh, if you worked at like a Circle K, a Lowe's, these corporate places, they have like a uh, policy where you can't engage the shooter. Um, Daniel Penny. That's it. I wanted to say Daniel Perry, but Daniel Perry is the guy out of Texas that showed his machine gun uh, to an Antifa riot, or not even a machine gun. It was I think it was AR. I'm not exact, or an AK-47 or something like that. He had in his car. There were all of these 2020 riots going on, and Daniel Perry just defended himself. He had a gun. This Antifa member pointed down into his car. He was on the driver's side. And what he did was grab his gun and shot him before um, Daniel Perry could be shot himself. So that's Daniel Perry down in Texas with the Antifa member. This is another case where they go after self-defense. Then we have Daniel Penny, who put the man, Jordan Neely, in a chokehold in New York. Get out of blue cities, because if you defend yourself in these blue cities, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be the bad guy. You're going to be the bad guy, and they're going to be soft on the criminal. So this wasn't the case though in Stockton, California, because these 7-Eleven employees or 7-Eleven employees are going to not face any kind of charges or anything like that. So if you're watching, go ahead, smash that like button, and be sure to like, love, share this out with your normie friends this morning. There's an attack on self-defense in this country. We know it with the story coming out of New York, Daniel Penny, who had put Jordan Neely, this known criminal, who was legally charged of felony assault, which is punishable up to 15 years in the state of New York, and he was on the subway threatening people, threatening to hurt people. And of course, what Daniel Penny did was take the guy down and put him in a chokehold, trying to prevent him from hurting people on the subway. And he, of course, is being punished for that. I think he's facing manslaughter charges and all that in this New York. We've also in another case, Daniel Perry down in Texas, sitting in prison. Um, from what I understand, Greg Abbott is supposed to be giving him some sort of pardon on on this conviction, where he was defending himself against a violent BLM Antifa member who was pointing a gun down into his driver's seat, who was in the car. And what Daniel Perry did was reach over to the side of him, grab his AK-47, and shot him through the window before the Antifa member could shoot him. So this is all self-defense, and typically self-defense is looked down upon when it comes to Democrats. They don't like when you defend yourself. These corporate organizations like Lowe's, Circle K, they actually have fired employees who have defended themselves against criminals who are looting their stores. I've brought you those stories before here on the Morning Buzz. You can see me live in studio, Cap Peterson, 929 on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. So this story coming out of Stockton, California. This is about a mayor was announced now that these 7-Eleven workers are not going to be charged for this epic beatdown of this looter, and he went as far as to say that the store clerks were never suspects, and they are not suspects. So I really enjoyed this story because this is in a California. This is in a blue state, and typically, if you're in a blue state or in a urban type area, like so, I think it was Dallas, Texas, where Daniel Perry was at, and New York, right, which is where Daniel Penny was at. Typically, if you're in one of these blue states, blue cities, you are going to be the bad guy if you defend yourself against criminals. Criminals, they're victims. You, you're, you're criminalized for defending yourself against criminals. But that's not the case here in California. So, two employees at this 7-Eleven store, they were confirmed by the district attorney's office to not be under investigation by authorities after this viral video shows them fighting off some robbers. So this was a viral video at the 7-Eleven, and the Stockton PD uh, got the case, and they have been investigating it, but they've actually been investigating the actual criminals. And this is what the mayor said in Stockton, and his name is Kevin Lincoln, which I'm shocked that we've got a good mayor in California. California state law hinders businesses daily by increasing shoplifting incidents and decreasing our law enforcement and their ability to hold accountable those responsible for such acts. So he says that California state law is causing all of this havoc where we have shoplifters going and trying to hurt people, trying to take things off of the shelves. And he says that there has been a decrease in the law enforcement ability to hold these criminals accountable for those crimes. And this video shows a guy, he's masked, and he's looting all of these shelves. And he goes behind the counter where the clerk is at, and he starts taking cigarettes. And he starts throwing this into a trash can. So he's got a big old trash can that he's dragging around the store, and he's just throwing a bunch of items into it. At one point, he's seen reaching into his back pocket as the employee approaches him. And the man filming this viral video of this looter and these store clerks engaging the looter, the man filming at one point says, "Just let him go. There's nothing you can do." So as the suspect attempts to leave with a trash can full of product, the employees tackle to the ground, and one employee starts hitting him with a pole. Now, police said that the man suspected for committing these robberies has been at that same 7-Eleven within 24 hours with another incident of shoplifting. So the first incident, we have the employee of 7-Eleven reporting that the suspect entered the business, went behind the counter, threatened to shoot the victim if he had intervened with him robbing him. And the suspect then took several packs of cigarettes and items and placed them in a large garbage bag before fleeing. The next day, the guy comes back. Then the employees report that this is the same guy from the previous incident the day before. And he came back demanding money from the cash register. And he was kind of simulating that he had a gun. I don't think he actually had a gun. He kind of simulated that he had a gun. I don't know if he'd like tucked his hand under his shirt and like pretended that he had a gun. But he was demanding money and threatened their lives. And this time, the employee said, "Enough is enough, and we're going to beat you with a pole." Good, good. And they beat this robber down. This viral video. I was and I was happy to see that these people actually defended themselves, and I'm even happier to see that this mayor has their back. 309-451-9299. I do have to take a quick break, but when we come back, Ron DeSantis, uh, he's got uh, a really this terrible DA in his state, and he said, "Enough is enough. We're going to fire you." And he removed yet another woke Soros-backed prosecutor. We have several woke uh, SOROS-backed prosecutors in the state of Illinois. I know Kim Fox is one of them. He's up in Cook County. And he says enough's enough after these two police officers were shot. So then he fires this DA. I've got thoughts on the other side. You can see me live in the studio on the live stream. That's Pat Peterson 929. Be sure to tune in and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back. Hey, good morning. If you're watching, go ahead and smash that like button. Smash the like button. I would so do appreciate it. Andy Swan, thank you so much for commenting. Here we go. You are not supposed to know about the contents of the laptop computer that Hunter Biden neglected to retrieve from the repair shop in Delaware. Yeah. The 2020 election was fixed by the suppression of evidence on it. Yes. So everybody's like, well, Donald Trump falsely claimed that the election was stolen. Donald Trump isn't falsely claiming that the election was stolen. The election was stolen. They're trying to say that, he's got a right to free speech, but he doesn't have the right to lie. Governor J.B. Pritzker's infamous quote there, when he was talking about the pregnancy resource centers, that they're being deceptive and trying to convince women to not have abortions. He said that they have the right to free speech, but they don't have the right to lie, and they're going to criminally prosecute, or like they're going to penalize and criminalize people for lying. That's what Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said in reference to this unconstitutional law that he's got going on. And that's not me saying it, that's the federal judge saying it, but he said that that was the same as Donald Trump's indictment, what Donald Trump is being indicted for. Governor J.B. Pritzker said that, not me, that they are going after Donald Trump criminally for lying. And a U.S. Supreme Court ruling back in 2012, it's U.S. versus Alvarez. This was a politician who lied about military kind of declarations, which is a scumbag thing to do. I'm not trying to downplay that. That sucks. But they tried to criminally hold him liable for lying about these military declarations. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, no, 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 no. You can't criminalize lying because what that does, it creates a chilling effect against the First Amendment to freedom of speech. So they're going after Donald Trump for saying that the election was stolen, and they say that he's lying about that. That's not even true because minus all of the numbers, get rid of all of the numbers, get rid of all of the votes counted, mail-in ballots, dead people voting, get rid of all of that, which we know everything like that happens because people will commit election fraud. Okay, there's criminals out there and they will commit crimes when it comes to election. And it's naive to think that election fraud doesn't happen at some sort of level, and it's actually quite dangerous. But take away all of that, take away the numbers, take away the mail-in ballots, take away the drop-off. Let's look at what evidence we had on the Hunter Biden laptop story and how they took down the Twitter account of the breaking story from the New York Post as it pertains to the laptop. The laptop was censored, and we have seen polls where Donald Trump would have won had that laptop story not been censored and had people known about that laptop story prior to voting. Okay, had people known that that story exists, the election results would have changed. We know that because of polling, we know that because people say they would have changed their vote from Biden to Donald Trump had they known about the evidence that was on this laptop. Yeah, so Andy, thanks so much for commenting. I so do appreciate it. If you guys are watching right now, go ahead and smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's Pat Peterson 929. If you haven't done that yet, what are you doing? Are you worried that your boss is going to see that you liked the program and subscribe to Pat Peterson and subscribe to this QAnon content, the QAnon cat content? Just like content, it's going to be okay. They like shame you, oh well. So we are going to be getting into Ron DeSantis, but there's another story that I want to bring you. It's from WirePoint. So WirePoint, they have this really full data, not really full, kind of sad data, but it's really good data. And they talk about how just 5 out of every 100 Black students in the Peoria School District 150, which is a huge school district, they can't even do math. They can do math at grade level. 5 out of every 100. Um, oh, reading. That's reading. 2 out of every 100 can do math. So I've got those statistics here coming up, and then we'll get to Ron DeSantis. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. We will be getting to Ron DeSantis. I'm thinking in the 7 o'clock hour, how he removed this woke SOROS-BACKED prosecutor after these 2 police officers were shot. So good on Ron DeSantis. I think Ron DeSantis could have done it earlier. Uh, and this is just one of those stories where I look at it and I think to myself, Ron DeSantis needs to stay where he's at. He's doing good work in Florida, removing these woke Soros-backed prosecutors. This is his second one. The reason why how he removes them because they don't do their duty, and he has the ability to remove them via executive order. And he's been doing this. So I think this is the second one he's removed, and he's the only governor doing that. And I think that he needs to stay where he's at and really try to get other governors to do this with him and lead by example and wait for 2028. Uh, wait for 2028 from DeSantis. His campaign is just gone down. It is bad. The numbers are really bad. And this morning, I'm looking at it, 70% of Republicans would vote for Donald Trump, even if he was convicted. But get this, convicted and behind bars. So if they actually put him behind bars, Republicans would still vote for him. You cannot uh, separate people from Donald Trump. You won't be able to do it. I don't care how many times you indict, you can't remove the populace from Donald Trump. He's the candidate that people want. So my question for you, throw it in the comments section on YouTube, Cap Peterson 99, or give me a text 309-451-9299. Do you think Donald Trump will be thrown behind bars? Do you actually think the regime will go there and throw Donald Trump behind bars? Because I think that would be a catalyst to complete destruction. I don't think that. I mean, that would just throw this republic into dizzy, and I don't know how we come out of that. So, do you think that Donald Trump will be behind bars, and that the regime would go that far? Throw it into the comment section or text me your thoughts. Now, I do want to start before I get to Ron DeSantis with a little clip from Wire Points. So Wire Points went to Peoria and they talked with WMBD TV about the numbers in Peoria when it comes to kids not being able to read. So this is a quite shocking story. 5 out of every 100 Black students in Peoria School District 150, which is a massive school district, can read at grade level, and it's even lower for math. We look at this, it's 2 out of every 100 children can do math at grade level. So here we have Wirepoint's Ted Dabrowski. He was interviewed by WMBD, and I think that this is some actually great journalism, and we need to be educating people, and I think we have a duty to try to get these numbers out there. Uh, and WirePoint, they say that one of their main goals is to get those who run the schools, the districts, and the state board of education to acknowledge these poor results. The problems in Illinois education will never be improved until these poor outcomes are at least acknowledged. Nobody even wants to acknowledge these. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of shocked that we've got somebody in the news media uh, reporting on that. So let's take a listen here to Ted Dabrowski on WNBD. Here we go.
Public schools being recognized statewide, but not for the right reasons.
An Illinois data nonprofit says more attention needs to be paid to PPS's high school students' low reading and math comprehension. Our Shab Abdinez joins us live in studio now to break down these numbers. Shab.
After on say, Rebecca, there's a lot of numbers to sift through here, but the major takeaway is that the Peoria Public Schools are underperforming based on these metrics alone. However, Peoria Public Schools is pushing back, saying there's a lot more that goes into education than numbers.
I think what really matters is that if the state is going to set standards, then we should meet those standards.
Illinois data nonprofit WirePoints blasting Peoria Public Schools students' low math and reading SAT scores and calling for action.
Well, I think what's missing are some very serious goals to get that education level up. The first thing I think that needs to happen is we need to acknowledge the problem, because we can't fix the problem if we don't acknowledge it.
According to Illinois State Board of Education's report card, 13% of PPS high school students could read at grade level in 2022, compared with the state average of 30%. And 10% of high school students are proficient in math, compared to 26% statewide.
The results are dismal. Most kids, almost all of them, can't read at grade level or do math at grade level. So we have to have a higher standard. We shouldn't have low expectations of those children. We should have really high expectations and act accordingly.
Broken down further, 5% of Black students, 13% of Hispanic students, and 37% of white students could read at grade level. For math, those numbers are 2% of Black students, 10% of Hispanic students, and 29% of white students. WirePoint's president Ted Dabrowski says the reading and math comprehension levels don't match up with graduation rates.
One of the big problems is only
Yeah, that's the thing is we've got the state board. I mean, this was the Illinois report card. They're reporting that 13% of kids can read at grade level. Okay. But yet we've got Illinois report card saying that there's an 80% graduation rate. It's like, wait, why are these kids graduating if they can't read? We shouldn't have to lower expectations of those children. We should have high expectations for children, and we should act accordingly. Okay, no lowering expectations. If you can't read, you can't graduate. Okay, I don't know where we went wrong here in the state of Illinois, but why are we passing kids and letting kids move on from high school if they can't even read? One thing that Ted Dabrowski said there, we need to acknowledge the problem. If we don't acknowledge it, we can't fix it. And none of these Democrats, none of these politicians, none of these the school board members want to acknowledge this problem. You need to vote Democrats out if you want your kids to be able to read. Democrat progressive school boards, they install superintendents who will demand higher and higher salaries, taking away from the resources that kids could be getting to be able to read. McLean County Unit 5 School Board, they approved contracts just a few weeks ago. They're paying staff way high, increasing higher pay for staff. Okay, so they just approved this. It was the Unit 5 Education Association, the teachers union. They worked out this 4-year agreement where the starting salary of full-time staff is going to be at least $40,000. Then it's going to increase to $42,000 by 2027. So that's starting pay. Okay. And here's my favorite part. There was a 4% increase, a raise for the superintendent for the upcoming school year. And, Unit 5 Peoria, they're all of them, all of the kids can't read. All of the scores are down. All of the SAT scores are down. Get this, the 4% raise, that's going to bring her salary up to $206,000 for 2023 and 2024, with possible raises through 2027. So she could be getting more and more raises between now and 2027. And just to put this in perspective, the teachers who have been there at Unit 5 for 30 plus years, they make about half that. They make about half of $200,000 a year. Teachers who have been there for their entire lives. So why are we paying our teachers? Why are we paying our superintendents all of this money when they aren't teaching children? Because that's clearly what's going on, because they're not performing well. So what's going on? We need to stop raising these salary. I'm sorry. People are going to sit there and they're like, teacher salary is so bad. Yeah, maybe if we weren't paying the superintendent 4% increases every year, then we could be paying our teachers who actually teach the children. And if you ask me, $42,000 a year, not that bad, according to the median household income for somebody who lives in the state of Illinois, which is $38,000 a year. So they definitely make more, not to mention they get a nice, healthy pension. I'm going to be back on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz. I know. People are like, Kat, that's so controversial. How could you say teachers are paid enough? Teachers are paid enough in the state of Illinois. Okay. Numbers don't lie. And if I were to go into a job and not perform and not actually teach the children how to read, not teach the children how to do math, which is clearly 2 out of every 100 Black students can do math at grade level. That is terrible. Yeah, like the numbers don't get much worse than that. And I don't know of any job where you can perform that poorly and still get pay increases. Doesn't really add up. So we are going to be talking about, Jake Tapper is up next. You're listening to the Morning Buzz. Be sure to smash that like button. Really definitely helps me out. Yep, there you go. Not to mention they've got healthcare benefits and things like that and pensions. And look, I'm not against teachers making good money. They should make good money, but there needs to be results if you're making that kind of money and if you have those kinds of benefits. 2 out of every 100, can we at least get it to 50 out of every 100? 50% of kids reading at grade level. Or doing math at grade level. Can we get it up to 50%? Right now we're at 2% of kids can read. It's sad. And I've seen it before in my own life, where I was in college. This girl, bless her heart, I offered her reading lessons. She was an intern for me during college, and she approaches me, and I mean, we bring her on as an intern, and little did I know the girl couldn't read. She couldn't read. This is a 20-year-old something woman, and she couldn't read, she couldn't write, she couldn't spell. And I asked her, hey, I don't know, if this is like an issue, or if this is an issue, but I think you have an issue reading. And you need to get help for that. And I said, I can't keep you on as an intern because we need to actually do stuff. But I am willing to teach you to read a little bit, and you can come in for writing lessons. I offered that. She didn't take me up on the offer, but that happened. So we're passing kids 80% graduation rate, and the kids can't read. They get to college, and then they're fired from their internships because that's essentially what I had to do. Imagine if she gets through college not being able to read and they pass her, which I'm sure Illinois State would do. They pass her, they get her through college. Imagine what is going to happen to this woman if she is in some sort of job and then they find out that she can't read and she gets fired. It's sad. All right, we're going to be back in just a moment. Stay tuned to Cities 92.9.
Calling it inappropriate, offensive, and tone deaf. The t-shirts read Cats Against the World, followed by 51, the number Fitzgerald wore as a 2-time National Defensive Player of the Year at Northwestern in the mid-1990s. I'm Chris Murphy, Cities 92.9 Sports.
In the car, in the office, in the fields, or in your basement. It doesn't matter where you're working. Thanks for making Cities 92.9 a part of your workday. As a thank you, tell us that you're listening on cities929.com for your chance to win gift cards from Jimmy John's. Tell us where you listen to Cities 92.9 at work at cities929.com.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
Wow, good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. 309-451-9299. That's the text line. And I've been asking you this morning, hey, do you think Donald Trump is actually going to be behind bars? And would you still vote for him? Maybe I'll add that caveat on there. Yeah, you could throw that into the comments section. Do you think the regime will actually throw Donald Trump behind bars, jumpsuit, orange jumpsuit behind bars? And would you still vote for him? Because I'm looking at polling right now. 70% of Republicans say that not only if Donald Trump is convicted, but if he's serving time behind bars, they would still vote for Donald Trump. Incredible. Now, coming up, I am going to be talking about Ron DeSantis, how he fires this woke, Soros-backed prosecutor. Good for Ron. But I did want to start here with abortion. Because Governor J.B. Pritzker has been out tweeting about abortion literally every day for the past 5, 6 days. He pops his head off the pillow and he's like, how can I tweet about abortion today? And it makes sense. Okay. He's going to make it a main campaign point. I don't know if he's trying to launch himself into some sort of presidency or what. But the Democrat Party, their sole base, like their base, it's unmarried women. It's unmarried women with a septum piercing and blue hair. Okay, that's their whole base, and it makes sense that J.B. Pritzker would be tweeting to those types of people because that's who votes for him. So we're living in one of the greatest eras of propaganda the world has ever seen, leading to the death of 65 million. This is the truth. JB, you want to talk about truth? You want to talk about who's lying? It's you. You're not talking about the 65 million innocent children in America alone over the past several decades. Okay. So, the death of 65 million children, the damage the abortion industry has done to my generation cannot be understated. Even more uh, than convincing us that lies are truth, the abortion industry has taken a third of Gen Z, that's my generation, who aren't here today because they never had the chance to be born. A third of them. We're going to talk about it because I've got this amazing clip and Governor J.B. Pritzker talking about these different things of how to secure abortion and all of these different initiatives and programs he passed. That's next. Yeah, that's true too. You get all kinds of perks for being the superintendent. She probably has, assistants and things like that who get her coffee too, and she probably has an entire staff underneath her just so that way. And I'm not trying to rip on superintendents. They definitely have a very important job, more important than that of the teacher who's been there for 30 years trying to teach children how to read. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're going to be back. We're going to be talking about this abortion thing just because JB has been tweeting about it literally every day since Monday because he went to this college and University of Illinois Chicago and he announced several of these initiatives and programs that secure abortion or what he would call reproductive care in the state. And he's got this unconstitutional law out there that was struck down
When a restaurant closes, my reaction is, that sucks. They had good steak. When regional banks close or 3 of them close overnight, it freaks me out. This is why I have my own personal gold reserve. It's part of my personal protection plan. Call my friends at Oxford Gold Group. Call 833-404-GOLD. 833-404-GOLD. That's 833-404-GOLD.
Major phone carriers make you sign contracts with rigid data plans to trap you into a kind of forced phonogamy. Sounds pretty insecure if you ask me. At Consumer Cellular, we believe in a more consensual and healthy form of phonogamy, free of contracts and more flexible to your data needs. This way, you stick around not because we force you to with contracts and fees, but because you love our phone plans. Like ardently love our phone plans. Phonogamously. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
The news is being brought to you by the Deep End Tap and Eastland Suites. Unwind tonight with drink specials and some local brews at the Deep End Tap.
A woman claims in a federal lawsuit that she faced some prolonged sexual harassment, assault, and then retaliation after reporting the offenses while working at Rivian in Normal. Earlier in the year, a contractor alleged racial discrimination in the workplace there. Illinois State Fair opens today, and the butter cow is unveiled. In Kim Howard reports.
The scene inside a rotating glass case in the dairy building features a girl milking a cow and is a depiction of real-life dairy farmer Laura Lee Schultz of Orangeville, Illinois.
I know I have a lot of fond memories coming to the fair, coming and showing, exhibiting her cattle. And one of the highlights of her week was always coming to the dairy building at the end of all that hard work and celebrating with the cream puff while we admired the dairy, the butter cow.
A butter figure of Laura Lee's daughter Lucy is included in an additional sculpture where she's kissing a calf. The Illinois State Fair runs through August 20th. At the State Fair, I'm Kim Howard.
Stay tuned. Your City's 92.9 forecast with meteorologist John Weatherby is coming up next. News on the air, on the web, on your app, and on Alexa. I'm Tom Davis.
Forecast on City's 92.9.
I'm staff meteorologist John Weatherby. Patchy fog early, otherwise mostly sunny. High today, 82. Partly cloudy, 65 tonight. Mostly sunny, 85 tomorrow. Sunny on Saturday.
The weather's being brought to you by Wireless DataNet. Stop putting up with crappy internet. Switch to Wireless DataNet with no contracts. Try them risk-free for 30 days with their money-back guarantee.
From the Johns in Lexington studios, if you're an experienced body shop technician who is looking to grow your career, join Johns in Lexington. We're growing. To join the team, apply in person at Johns in Lexington. The Morning Buzz with Kat Peterson. This is your hometown conservative talk show that examines today's stories through a brand new lens. This is The Morning Buzz, brought to you by McLean County Asphalt.
Speaking the truth, sometimes for me, I think it's just as easy as breathing. Sometimes it does take a toll. Sometimes it's very, very hard to speak the truth, and I understand that. We are living through one of the greatest eras of propaganda the world has ever seen when it comes to abortion. 65 million innocent children in just the past decade have died because of abortion. The damage the abortion industry has done to my generation, Gen Z, I mean, I can't even comprehend it, the damage, because the abortion industry has taken a third of Gen Z who they're not here today because they never had the chance to be born. So this is a clip I found, and these are some pro-lifers, and they're fighting. Isabel Brown, she is pro-life for Students for Life. She's a Gen Zer like me, and she is dealing with some woke leftists at this speaking arrangement. And, you know, she says it's hard to speak the truth sometimes. For her, it's as easy as breathing. But sometimes it looks more like this. Let's take a listen here to what the leftists were screaming about. This is just a clip I found, some leftists screaming about pro-life. Here we go.
Y'all don't want free childcare. Y'all don't want free formula. You guys won't do anything to stop these gun violence that are happening. They're killing these kids. I was in a shooting 5 years ago at Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
And even though it was a false call, had it been real, some of us would have died. So if
Yeah,
you're gonna say y'all are pro-life, that means life outside the womb.
It absolutely does. You're absolutely right, man. That's why the pro-life movement has started and sustained 3,000. You won't even let me answer her questions. Would you like me to answer the question?
A few moments later.
So I would say, if we want to talk about who Nazis are, you're kind of not acting very right.
Yeah. And, I bring this up this morning because Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker on Monday, he goes to the University of Illinois, Chicago, and he announces all of these different initiatives, programs, and then he talks, of course, about the pregnancy resource centers being deceptive. What people don't understand is that the people in the pro-life movement, these Christians who are in the pregnancy resource centers, the one here in Bloomington, Lincoln, Living Alternatives, go visit their website today and show them some love because what they do, they provide things like free formula. They provide things like childcare. They provide things like um, baby clothes. I mean, the list goes on, and they are there for the mother. They are there for the women, and they are for life outside of the womb. Okay, so um, Governor J.B. Pritzker, he joined these state leaders and healthcare providers, and he said this at the podium. He goes, unlike some other states, in the 14 months since the Supreme Court made this destructive decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, Illinois has doubled down on our commitment to protect and expand reproductive rights for patients and providers alike. You know what, JB? You know what? I've got a clip here. And it is a clip of some of our woke after the overturn of Roe v. Wade in some of these states that you're mentioning. And you know what? I'm just going to let them tell you about how they are surviving after Roe v. Wade and their overturning. So let's check in on our woke friends in these evil states that have things like 6-week, um, 6-week heartbeat bills that um, allow children to be born. So let's take a listen. Here we go.
Has been overturned. Let's see what the woke have been up to since then.
It's been 1 whole year since Roe v. Wade was overturned.
Which means they've been making abortion illegal all over the place.
Now that Roe v. Wade is overturned, a woman can get pregnant just from having sex.
I'm not seriously considering going down the dangerous path of abstinence until marriage.
I find myself in this really bizarre state where I'm asking guys about things like their values and trustworthiness before sleeping with them.
Before a girl will have sex with me now, she's asking me all these dumb questions like, do you love me? And what happens if I get pregnant? And do you have a job? Like, I don't know.
Abortion being illegal where I live has definitely raised the bar for which men I'll date and have sex with. And that's a terrible thing.
It used to be that if I got a girl pregnant, I would just force her to get an abortion. And I can't do that anymore. And that's awful.
I can't tell you how many first dates I've had in the last year where no sex happens. All we do is talk about who we are and get to know each other.
Ladies, if you haven't done it already, you need to get an IUD. This will make your uterus a toxic and hostile environment like it's supposed to be.
It's like now sex is such a bigger deal. It's not just about me using someone else's body to get myself off.
It's like the government is making me responsible for a bunch of stuff I shouldn't be responsible for, like my sex life and my children.
Why would I ever want to bring?
Oh God. I came across that clip and I had to share it with you guys. I have no idea how these woke people are going to survive with all of these terrible things like the 6-week heartbeat bills and a heartbeat laws. So I had to share that with you guys. I can't believe Governor J.B. Pritzker, he's out there every single day. His head pops off the pillow and he says, what can I do when it comes to making taxpayers pay for this barbaric practice of abortion? How can I make it to where we kill more babies. I'm telling you. I thought it was supposed to be safe, legal, and rare. Okay, I do want to shift gears. Let's talk about Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis, he has fired this woke DA. So he removed yet another weak on crime, Soros-backed prosecutor from office after 2 cops were shot by somebody who should have been in jail. Okay, this person should have been in jail, should have never been able to shoot the cops. I think Ron DeSantis should have removed this DA way before today. Yesterday he removed her via executive order, and he has the power to do this. He removed Monique Worrell. She's the 9th Judicial Circuit State Attorney. Okay, and she was backed by a group tied with Democrat benefactors like George Soros. She was backed by George Soros, and she was removed from her post for dereliction of duty. So the governor's office, they sent out a statement, the Florida governor. The practices and policies of her office have allowed murderers and violent offenders and dangerous drug traffickers to receive extremely reduced sentences and escape the full consequences of their criminal conduct. In some cases, these offenders avoided incarceration altogether. So the final straw happened this past weekend, where a man who was arrested in March of 2023 for sexual battery of a minor and molestation, who's already on probation for a past offense, was allowed out on bail. These people will be allowed out on bail in the state of Illinois because we've ended cash bail. So there's nothing keeping them there. People who molest children and who commit things like sexual battery will be out and about in just a couple of months here in the state of Illinois, because we passed something at the Supreme Court level, the Illinois Supreme Court, that is essentially a purge law. We ruled that the SAFE-T Act is totally cool, and we're going to allow sexual batterers and molesters to be out on, allowed out on no bail. So then this guy was out, and he shot 2 police officers. Let's take a listen to what Ron DeSantis says here about this DA, why he made the decision to relieve her of her duties. Here we go.
And that means we support the men and women who wear the uniform, who protect and serve. It means we have strong policies to hold criminals accountable for their misconduct. Prosecutors have a duty to faithfully enforce the law. One's political agenda cannot trump this solemn duty. Refusing to faithfully enforce the laws of Florida puts our communities in danger and victimizes innocent Floridians. Accordingly, I am today announcing the suspension of State Attorney Monique Worrell from the 9th Judicial Circuit, effective immediately. I'm appointing Judge Andrew Bain to take over as State Attorney for the 9th Judicial Circuit. Judge Bain is currently a judge in Orlando. He is a native Floridian. He attended University of Miami, where he played football, and he received his law degree from Florida A&M Law School. And I trust that he will be a prosecutor that faithfully enforces the law and will keep the communities of Central Florida safe.
So there you have it. There's Ron DeSantis relieving this woman of her duties via executive order. Now, this was the final straw, okay? Because this guy who was sexually abusing kids, molesting kids, he was out, and then he goes and he pops 2 officers in the face. So that was the final straw. But there is a laundry list of every stereotypical, this is clearly her equity agenda. A Democrat attorney, she wants more crime for whatever reason. I don't know why she would want more crime, but I mean, here's a case. We've got November 2022, 17-year-old Lorenzo Larry. He shot and killed his pregnant girlfriend. Larry had previously been arrested in May of 2022, for carrying a concealed firearm, possession of a firearm on school property, and criminal possession of a firearm by a minor. Okay, so he killed his pregnant girlfriend, but he was released even after that. Okay, so yes, he he was totally fine. Even after killing his pregnant girlfriend. Um, and prior to that, he was on their radar because he was in possession of all these firearms when he wasn't supposed to be as a kid, as a minor. So in October of 2022, a minor was arrested on first-degree murder charges with a firearm. The shooting was captured on video, and a month later, Worrell's office filed a petition to reduce the charge from murder to possession of a firearm. So she pled down that case where he killed somebody on tape to a firearm possession, like, charge. What? He killed somebody on tape. Here's another one. Randall Friedrichs, or Fredericks, was arrested in 2020 for possession of child pornography. In August of 2022, he's charged with 45 counts. But by February of 2023, her office reduced that number to 10. Under the law, each count carries 15 years. So he was only sentenced to just 130 months. And that's it. This guy with all of this child pornography. Truly, truly sad. So she's being replaced. Good on Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis kicked out another Soros-backed attorney about a year ago, I think. And, you know, I just really like Ron DeSantis where he's at. I'm sure the media after this, they're going to cry that Ron DeSantis is a dictator and that he doesn't have the ability to do this via executive order, which is a lie. He sure does. And they're going to accuse him of anti-Semitism because, oh boy, the name Soros was uttered. And you know what? Ron DeSantis just doesn't give it. He doesn't give a hoot. He's going to go after. And like I said, I want Ron to stay where he is. He needs to rid Florida of all of these corrupt prosecutors. He needs to lead by example. And we need Trump in there to stop World War III from happening. I do need to take a break. You're listening to The Morning Buzz. I'll be back. I've got some more things I want to share with you. CNN Jake Tapper can't understand why so many Americans just can't stand Joe Biden. And he's got a guest on from NPR of all places. And she actually stumbles upon the reasons why he's not popular among Americans because, and I don't think she really meant to point these things out, this NPR person, but she does. She points these reasons out. So I can't wait to play the clip for you on the other side. Be sure to text in at 309-451-9299. Hey, good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you guys could smash the like button, every Soros-backed DA should be sought out and fired. This is pro-criminal ideology, and it needs to be crushed. Yes, Ryan, you're so exactly right. They're seeing proof and evidence, and they dismiss it. Yes, exactly. It's all pro-criminal. I mean, you shoot somebody on tape. You've got a criminal. He takes a gun and he pops somebody in the face on tape. And she pleads that down to a firearm possession charge. The guy's a murderer. And it's even worse here in the state of Illinois. I mean, what do you expect when you've got a governor and people don't even realize that this happened? And he's going to Heartland Community College, doing all kinds of symposiums and talks and stuff with these college students about how, you know, he's a reformed criminal now and blah, 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 blah. Maybe he is, and he came to Christ or whatever. And I understand that. However, it doesn't take away the fact that you made those choices and those choices have consequences. Okay. So this guy, he's like 18 years old at the time, and he goes in and he stabs somebody multiple times, watches him bleed out, forces the guy to watch TV, and then, like, this is Jeffrey Dahmer type stuff, okay? Forces the guy to watch TV and then tries to force the guy to go to the jewelry box, and he makes him try to get up from being stabbed and bleeding out on his own bed in his house. And the guy went in there, tried to pretend to be some sort of handyman at 18, 19 years old, whatever. I forget the guy's name, to be honest with you. It really doesn't matter. But he goes in, pretends to be a handyman, then commits this heinous crime of stabbing this guy, letting him bleed out on his own bed in his house. Then he makes him watch TV. Then he tries to get the guy to go and get up from being stabbed to go get the jewelry from the jewelry box. And he's robbing him. Clearly, he can't do it because he's bleeding out and he's stabbed. So he just winds up robbing him, leaving, coming back the next morning and setting the place on fire, setting the apartment on fire. This guy. Okay, so that's the crime, according to court documents. I'm laying this out for you. Now, this guy was kind of pardoned. I don't know what you call it when they're a governor, but Governor J.B. Pritzker pardoned this fellow, this criminal, and because he committed the crime at like 18 years old, and this was some sort of catalyst. This pardon was the catalyst, really, to launching this new law in the state of Illinois where you can't give life sentences. That guy was supposed to serve a life sentence. Okay. And he's not serving his sentence anymore. He's out and about giving speeches at Heartland Community College about how he's a reformed criminal. He's walking free. I just told you about how this guy brutally stabbed someone, and Jeffrey Dahmer, like it made him watch TV while he bled out. Like that's insanity. And you made that choice to do that, man. I don't care if you're a reformed criminal. Those kinds of actions have consequences, and you need to answer for your choices in this country. And if we allow people like that to just walk free among us, and not only that, but to celebrate them as an institution, as a college, as and I guess he serves on some sort of nonprofit organization. It's called something, and I'm sure he's getting paid pretty hefty amount to serve on that organization, on that non-government organization. It just, when things like that, when I read things like that, there is no hope. There is none. If we have a governor who pardoned this guy and didn't let him serve out his sentence for brutally murdering somebody like that, I mean, then what are we doing here? I'm sorry. I that story absolutely blows my mind, and people are like, "Yeah, I'll vote for JB." Are you serious? Wait, do you know? I feel like people don't know. Otherwise, if they knew, they wouldn't be voting for JB after hearing stories about how he pardoned somebody who literally Jeffrey Dahmered somebody's in an apartment, practically. So, we are going to be back. I'm going to be playing this video of Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper's really fun. I love this guy. I love making fun of him. So he's got this woman on from NPR, and he goes, I feel like I've been noting for this for 3 years, but Joe Biden is out there heralding such and such, and the American people just disapprove of him overwhelmingly. Yes, for the past 3 years, people have said that they don't like Joe Biden. What could be the possible reason for that? Well, let me reveal this to you. It's because Joe Biden is not the type of candidate that gets people worked up. Correct. We definitely don't see people with Biden hats standing on the highway corner waving their Biden pride flags. And I think part of it is actually the inflation. Okay. It's really hurting people. And people, it's the economy, stupid. It's the economy. Okay, we're going to be back here in just a moment. Be sure to like, love, share this out with your normie friends. And do you think Donald Trump is going to be behind bars? Do you think the regime will go there and throw him behind bars, put him in an orange jumpsuit, mugshot, the whole nine works? And would you still vote for him if he was in prison? Because 70% of Republicans say yes. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Jake Tapper. I feel like I've been noting this for like 3 years. President Biden is out there heralding, such and such, but the American people disapprove of him overwhelmingly. Yeah, so the CNN, their latest poll here, job approval, 41%, handling of the economy, 37%. Nobody likes Joe Biden. Nobody thinks the economy is doing well, as the media tries to tell us. We didn't think that either in 2022 when the Democrats were able to con these Zoomers into thinking that they were able to get their student loans paid off, and that they were able to con unmarried women into believing that uh, if they won't be allowed to choose abortion up to 12 weeks as a human rights violation. They got unmarried women to believe that that's some sort of human rights violation. Hey, you can't kill your kid at 9 months. You can't kill your kid. You just can't do it. And they got people to believe that choosing abortion and killing your kid at 9 months is some sort of, violation. If you tell somebody that they can't do that, that's some sort of human rights violation. Okay. So it's the economy, stupid. So here's CNN, Jake Tapper. I'm going to play this here for you. And he has got some NPR people there with him at the table, and he's trying to crack the code here onto why Joe Biden is doing so poorly in the polls. Here we go.
So the White House clearly trying to gin up excitement for President Biden's 2024 campaign.
Yes.
His CNN's poll from last week found that President Biden's approval rating is at only 41%. Only 37% of Americans approve of his handling of the economy. I said this in our staff meeting today. I feel like I've been noting this for 3 years. President Biden is out there heralding such and such, and the American people disapprove overwhelmingly. 3 years in, we're still having this conversation.
Still having the conversation because the connection isn't happening.
So the White House.
So they're sitting there and they're trying to crack the code on this, people. And on the American people, they're like, why do the American people not like Joe Biden? Because they are so elitist that they don't understand what we're going through as Americans. They just don't get it. This NPR woman, she goes on, and I think she brings up two excellent points, and I think she might have stumbled upon these by accident. She says that Joe Biden, quote, is not the type of person or candidate that people get worked up about. Correct. I have never seen anybody in a Biden hat. Have you? Like, honestly, have you ever seen anybody in a Biden hat? Standing on the highway corner, waving their Biden flags. No, I've never seen anybody get excited about Joe Biden. She says this too. I think part of it is that when you had inflation, that's such a pocketbook issue. It really hit people where they hurt. And you've got interest rates up, and it's just a lot for Americans. So these elitists, so that was an NPR woman who said that. And I think she stumbled upon these reasons by accident. But inflation, yeah, maybe it came down a little bit, but it's still way higher than what it was. And low employment rates really don't matter when you struggle to support your family with the job or jobs you do have. Okay, so Biden's agenda, that he still occasionally blames Russia for, is the key reason why things are so unaffordable. And Americans understand that. The statistic that matters to voters is what I call the everyone I know metric. So assign a number to yourself based on your job status and how expensive you find things like food, gas, utilities, +1 for everyone you know who is doing okay, -1 for everyone you know who's not. Okay, so that's the only metric that really matters to people. Who do you know that's doing okay right now? And if they are, add that and then subtract the people that you do know that aren't doing okay. These elitists who work for the media, this NPR woman, this Jake Tapper guy, they think that everyone is doing fine because they're doing fine. They don't struggle to make ends meet. For normie Americans, for people who are normal, we know what it's like. The people at CNN and MSNBC, Joy Behar, they're not understanding why so many Americans don't slurp Biden as much as they should. They don't understand it because they don't go through it, and they're sitting there and they're like clearly it's the economy, stupid. I do have to take a break. We're going to come back with Scott Robbins for Scott's Takes on the Morning Buzz. That happens about 7:35 every morning. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. It's Cap Peterson 929. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. See me live on Facebook, also YouTube, Twitter. I'm everywhere. We'll be back. Ding, 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 ding. Mike. Just the dinging you hear, that's the pump asking you to select a grade. Scott Robbins right over there. This is Scott's Takes on the Morning Buzz.
You know,
Mike.
I'm telling you, you and I could run a better campaign than some of these people, the handlers around them.
I know.
Somebody thought this was a good idea. I mean, Mike Pence is the most beige, unexciting politician on the planet. He may be a good guy. He may have a good heart. He may be all those things. I don't know. But there's an element of absolute phony with a lot of these guys that run for office, okay? But they seem to step on the rake every single time. So Pence is filming this commercial. I guess it's going to be a commercial, or at least something you throw out, the quick hitter. I don't know. But he's at the gas station, right? And he pulls out the gas pump or the handle, right? And he goes to put it in his car, and you can hear the constant beep, 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 beep of the pump itself. Now, what will that tell you is, for those of us who actually do this, that you have to select a grade of gas, right? And then it shuts off the beep, and then you fill your tank, right? That's how it works. Everybody knows that. He doesn't. So they're filming this thing, and he's talking about gas prices, and you hear the constant beep, beep, beep in the background because he didn't select what he wanted. And it's just, this the dumbest thing. You don't have to do that. Didn't anybody go, hey, wait a minute, stop. Let's do this again. Because you got to select something, Mike. So that's not going on in the background. But the separation of reality from these guys and what really goes on and what you and I deal with every day, and I don't care, pick a party on that one. And they're all guilty of it. They don't have any idea how you live or how anybody else lives. And you mentioned that he was doing the America Runs on Duncan thing, right? That was Pence too, right?
Yeah, it was a tweet that he had. Oh gosh, I don't even know, way back when. It was in May of 2023, and he goes, I heard New Hampshire and America run on Dunkin' Donuts, and I had to check it out for myself. And then he posts a picture of himself in line at this Dunkin' Donuts.
Like a Dunkin' Donut.
This is your official Twitter account. Like whoever runs his social media team needs to be blacklisted.
Yeah, like what's wrong with you, man? I mean, seriously. They do this all the time. I remember when George Bush, I think it was George Sr., went to the grocery store and they had the automatic checkers. You know, you just scan the item and it pops up. You don't actually literally type it into the machine. And he was shocked by that. Wow, when did that happen? Like 10 years ago? They don't know because they're not in that world, but they want to pretend they live in that world and they don't. I mean, Joe does it all the time with, took the train and all the bogus train stories he's come up with over the years. Middle-class Joe, blue-collar Joe, blah, blah, blah. But they end up making fools of themselves because they just don't know. And Pence, this is another example of that. Dude, you can't do this. I mean, I guess he did make the debate stage, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's almost like the people from Bud Light, whoever got fired from their marketing team, went over to the Mike Pence team.
Yeah.
Hey, let's film you.
Yeah, I got an idea. Let's do this. People will relate to this because they gas prices, but it's like it gives the whole game away when you do that.
Point this out. He's sitting there saying, "Remember when gas prices were so low?" Mike, you were in another office. That was all Donald Trump and his policies. You were in another office, God only knows, playing Connect 4 or something, or Checkers.
Well, doing what vice presidents do, which is virtually nothing. Right? I mean,
you can't take ownership of the low gas prices
honestly,
we had.
It's not even really even your fault. You just don't do anything. It's you go to ribbon cuttings and grand openings and that sort of thing. I mean, it's the job is. I mean, it's even more ridiculous now than it was when he was there. Anyway, I want to get to this because Joe Biden was out yesterday in New Mexico. And again, we play this. I'm going to play. How many clips do we have, Kat, by the way? I forget.
1, 2, 3.
We have 3 clips. And we'll discuss when we hear all this. But this is the president of the United States. Yes.
Problem was.
Sorry.
In New Mexico. Go ahead. All right, here we go.
Problem was too many people are working. People are working, they get too much money. That's not the problem.
What? Too many people are working working people are making too much money. Is that what he said? Too much money? And that's the problem? Play it again, because I want to make sure I'm clear on this. Okay, here we go.
Problem was too many people are working.
Okay.
Or working people are working, making too much money. That's not the problem.
Okay, too many people are working people are working, making too much money. That's not the problem. I'm just trying to help here, not hurt, okay? There you go.
Well, and
No.
maybe he's talking about the low employment rates, which you can't count the jobs that came back after COVID-19. Okay,
Well,
that doesn't.
No, that's what they do.
But it
Same way
doesn't
Pritzker
matter.
does budget surplus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all bogus. It's none of it's true. No, you don't. You got like a bunch of COVID money. But anyway, this is another clip. Joe's in New Mexico. Here we go.
People sometimes say, why are you doing that? Imagine if for a long time Roosevelt and telephones came along and said, we're not going to help invest in telephones. Come on, man. I don't know what we're thinking.
Oh.
People, it's weird too, because it's like there's a sign that says laugh, because nobody knows what he just said. Something about Roosevelt and telephones. And imagine if I guess he's somehow drawing a parallel between that and solar energy. I mean, it's beyond me what that's all about. And then, of course, we have one more clip of Joe in New Mexico. And, well, here we go.
Investment. Siemens Corporation laid off workers who were making wind turbine parts and put the plant in Iowa and Kansas into what they now call, they refer to as hibernation. I hibernated in a while.
Oh.
Iowa for a while, but look, now we're.
I don't even know. I don't even know what that was.
Is it uncomfortable laughter, Scott? You think
It is uncomfortable because you feel like you have to do something, right? Because he's pausing and he's expecting either applause or something, and you get laughter out of it because I guess there was a joke in there. He hibernates in Iowa. Was that a positive for solar energy, by the way? I'm not sure. Wind turbines. Again, one more time, Kat, because I just want to be clear. Okay.
All right, hold on.
Yeah, we got to do it one more time.
Yes.
Maybe is it going to play one more time?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay, it is. All right. Well, see, these are the things we should. Technology is our friend until it isn't. Okay.
Yeah. Here we go.
Okay. Put them off. So they laid off employees and now they're not working? Yes. See, I think the joke, I guess the wind turbine plants are in hibernation, meaning they're turned off. They're not functioning. I don't know what that means. And I think he said, I've hibernated in Iowa too. That was supposed to be the joke, but he said, I've hibernated in Iowa. So, I mean, this is the president of the United States. I had some guy yesterday say, you guys, making fun of the elderly. So, oh, come on, man. The guy's the president. Okay. And he can't, this is what we're dealing with. This is what world leaders see. This is what the rest of our country sees every single day, that they prop this guy up and bring him out there. I mean, there's a reason you don't see a lot of him. There's nothing beneficial for him that comes out of that.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
nothing.
And did you see the Gold Star families and everything that they were saying? There was this veteran guy who said that Joe Biden, I mean, he was blown up. He had both of his arms. He managed to save one of his arms, but the other arm was like a prosthetic. And he was laying in a hospital bed, and Joe Biden is talking to him about Beau Biden, his son, who died of cancer, I think. And it's just so inconsiderate of what this veteran is going through. He was just blown away in the withdrawal of Afghanistan. And he says that, there was a Secret Service agent there, and the veteran was like, are you kidding me? This is the guy? And the Secret Service agent was beet red because he couldn't stop from laughing, because the veteran looks up at Joe Biden and he goes, are you kidding me right now? This is the guy? The guy behind me getting blown away? This is him? And the Secret Service agent was just like,
Well, I mean, it's sad when you lose a child. It's very, very sad. I get it. I mean, and I have sympathy and empathy for anyone who goes through that. Beau Biden was not killed on the battlefield.
No,
Okay,
and he got to be there with
he's
his
tried
son.
to do that. He's tried to conjure that story up a million times. Just like the train conductor who said, Joey, he's told that story a million times, and the guy wasn't even alive at the time that he was talking about. I mean, none of these, but he's a serial liar. He's been doing this his entire career. And this isn't new for Joe. It's just more pronounced now. All right.
Joe
We're going to be
Biden.
okay. We're going to be okay. Kat, we're going to be all right.
Yeah, I think it'll be
Okay.
all right.
All right, I think
Another
we'll be
day
all
in
right.
Joe Biden's America. I wanted to ask you, Scott, have you ever seen somebody in a Joe Biden hat or waving a Joe
No.
Biden flag?
I've seen some bumper stickers.
Yes, I have seen some bumper stickers. Usually
No.
there's like a coexist bumper sticker that's paired with it or something. But
Yeah, there's no Joe Biden store online that I'm aware of. It probably is. I just don't know about it. But no, they're not working the merch very well. No. All right.
nobody likes him.
Well, who wants to wear a Biden? I mean, seriously, what are we talking about here? Even if you support him, my gosh, you don't want to raise your hand and go, yes, I support that. No. All right. Talk to you later.
I'll talk to you
Have a good
later,
day.
Scott
All
Robbins.
right. See you.
Scott Robbins, he's going to be off tomorrow, folks, from the morning buzz. He'll be off with me in the morning, but you can catch him tonight, 8 o'clock, Cities 92.9. It's Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And if you really want to laugh and look like a crazy person in your car, tune in 8 o'clock tonight, Cities 92.9. Hey, good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. Please smash that like button if you are watching. I will be getting into a couple of stories here. One story I want to tell you about is this Joe Biden flipping out on Peter Doocy. So Doocy's back. He took some paternity leave, and Joe Biden welcomed Doocy back with an old man meltdown. And, what did Doocy do? Well, he had the stones to do his job as a journalist and ask him a question. He just walked right up to Joe Biden, asked him a question. He just walked up and asked him a question. How rude of him. No. So the question was about Hunter Biden's shady business dealings and how Joe allegedly called into his second favorite son, not Beau, but Hunter's meetings with foreign business partners. And the White House has rules against such nonsense. Okay. You can't ask Joe Biden a question. That's not how this works. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit. Plus, in Stockton, California, there was a mayor who announced that the 7-Eleven workers are not being charged for this epic beatdown of a looter. And I was shocked by that because typically anymore in 2023, especially in blue run states or blue run cities, the people who defend themselves are charged with stuff and then the criminal gets to run free. But this 7-Eleven workers, they beat this guy who was looting the store on a consistent basis. I mean, for the past 2 days, he had been going in there, threatening their lives, saying that he had a gun. And these store clerks, they beat him and they tackled him to the ground. And I like what this mayor said. He goes, the store clerks were never suspects in any kind of charges. They're not going to be charged, which I find shocking because anymore, there was Lowe's, there was Circle K, where you have these people who are trying to defend themselves against these violent criminals who come in and steal crap off of the shelves, and they defend themselves, and yet they're the ones who get fired because they go outside of corporate policy, and you can't defend yourself if you work for a place like Lowe's or Circle K. And I've told people several times, if you work for one of these big corporations, don't do anything. Just don't engage. Because why would you even? I'd run and hide. Just run and hide. Because why are you defending a company and their property? Like, yes, these people work for Lowe's for 30 plus years. They don't care about you. Your 30 plus years does not matter to these corporations. The time that you have put in. So why would you try to defend the store and try to fend off these looters and rioters? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But in this case, the 7-Eleven workers, they they were defended. The mayor actually came out and said, look, California state law makes it to where criminals are are increasing. It's increasing in shoplifting incidences. The state law does. And there's decreasing law enforcement and there's decreasing ability to hold these people accountable for such acts. So I do want to get to that story here coming up in just a little while. And then, of course, Peoria School District. That's what we talked about, I think, in the 6 o'clock hour. 150, just 5 out of every 100 Black students can read at grade level. That's really abysmal. That's dismal results. 2 out of every 100 can do math at the Peoria School District. So big problem. And finally, we've got people discussing these problems. Peoria, WMBD, they talked with Ted Dabrowski, and he said, look, the first step is acknowledging that these numbers are a problem and then getting these numbers fixed by voting Democrats out, essentially. That's what I'm saying to you is the only way we make it to where kids can read is if we vote out woke progressive school board members and get them out of there because they're going to continue to prioritize the salaries of superintendents over the educational health of our students. We're going to be back. Smash that like button if you're watching. Do it right now. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. That's Kat Peterson 929. I agree. Trump reacting to the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell being heckled and booed during his speech in Kentucky. I mean, this is his home state, y'all. So here we have Mitch McConnell being booed during his speech, and then Donald Trump, he goes out on Truth Social and he says, "I agree. Boo, 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 retire, retire, Mitch McConnell." Here's what the heckling sounded like. It's quite interesting. Here we go.
Inflation. We're up against folks who closed schools and then told you that teachers unions know what's best for your kids. We're up against folks who'd rather let repeat offenders walk free than get tough on crime. I'm glad Governor Beshear finally decided to come to Fancy Farm. It's been the first Saturday in August for 143 years. But Andy only seems to make time for you all when he's staring down Election Day.
That's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. We've got Mitch McConnell out there. And, if I'm not mistaken, Mitch McConnell, the turtle, he practically had a stroke. And I mean, I laugh. It's really quite sad. He's at the podium and he just goes silent. He goes silent for at least a couple of minutes. And he's giving a speech. In the middle of his speech, he goes silent and it looks as if he has some sort of stroke. He didn't have a stroke, but it looks like he did. And these corporate journalismers, these idiots, are going to be out there and they're going to say, well, I'm worried about Trump's health. I'm worried about Trump's health. So here's Donald Trump in New Hampshire. He was there getting the crowd all excited and he was talking about veterans and how he's going to help veterans out and provide more assistance and get rid of the bureaucracy within the VA. And it's a very hot room that he's in. So he describes this hot room, and I love what he has to say here. Here we go. Let's take a listen to Donald Trump in New Hampshire.
But you know what the press will say? You know what they'll say? Trump didn't look well. He was extremely wet. It's 104 or 5 degrees in this room, but we're okay with it, right?
There's new reporting this morning
You
on a
think he's
secret
well?
memo. No.
I mean, I'm sweating.
That-
No, I'm just saying I'm sweating that much. Do you think he's
In a million different ways, I don't
healthy?
think he's
you
well.
think he's unhealthy?
So there you have it. That was Joe Scarborough on MSNBC Morning Joe. And Donald Trump called it. He was like, they're going to say that I'm unwell because I'm sitting here sweating in a 104-degree room. And they're going to say I'm unwell. Okay, let's do Mitch McConnell next. Let's do Joe Biden next. Okay, can we do that, corporate journalismers? If you're going to do this to Donald Trump, then maybe we should do it to the Mitch McConnells and the Joe Bidens as well. Maybe they're not well. All right, I'm going to be back. Let's talk about how Joe Biden, he flips out on Peter Doocy. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. We are going to be back talking about how Joe Biden flipped out on Peter Doocy. He just completely lost it because why? Well, Peter Doocy dared ask him the question about Hunter Biden's business dealings and his involvement in it as it pertains to Devin Archer. Oh, I don't know, actually testifying that Joe Biden was a part of those dealings. If you're watching right now, go ahead and smash that like button. Smash that like button. It would really help me out. And subscribe to the channel. It's real easy. Just hit the subscribe button and you're going to be able to get notifications when I go live. You get all kinds of bonus content when you subscribe. So there's benefits to subscribing to Cat Peterson 929. Subscribe to Cat Peterson 929. You can check us out on Facebook. That's Cities 929. If you have a question, throw it into the comments section or text it in at 309-451-9299. Now, I have a question for you. If Donald Trump were to be behind bars, would you still vote for him? And more than that, do you think that the regime will put Donald Trump behind bars? Do you think that we're going to be there? Vivek Ramaswamy thinks definitely so, that Donald Trump will be thrown into prison. I think that it's a possibility. I know for sure he's going to be convicted. I don't know if they're going to throw him in some sort of cell. But no matter what, I'm voting for Donald Trump. And a lot of people agree with me. 70% of Republicans say that not only if Donald Trump is convicted of these crimes, but if he's sitting in a prison cell, then they will vote for Donald Trump. The guy's numbers are wildly, just skyrocketing after this indictment with Jack Smith. So smash the like button if you're watching. Share this out with your normie friends. That's a big help if you can share this video. Share the link onto your social media sites. Now, another story we're going to get into, Ron DeSantis removing another woke Soros-backed DA. And, every day is a good day when we have this sheriff. So there's this amazing sheriff in the state of Florida. He goes by the name, what's his name? I'm looking for it. Judd, I think it is, Sheriff Judd. Yes, Grady Judd is the sheriff, and it's a great day when he's out there. And he actually talked about how this Soros-backed DA, she's just letting crime ensue. She's just letting crime run amok. And he has this hilarious clip that I'm going to be playing for you. But, this Soros-backed DA isn't the first one. Ron DeSantis did kick another Soros-backed DA out of office. That was Andrew Warren for not enforcing laws, which is kind of the job description of a DA. We're not going to allow this pathogen of ignoring the law get a foothold in the state of Florida. I think that it's extremely important for Ron DeSantis to stay in the state of Florida and do this kind of work. He needs to lead by example. We need somebody on the ground leading by example and leading the way for the states to show, hey, this is what will happen if you follow these things from a state level, if you follow these policies that Ron DeSantis implements. Now, Ron DeSantis, he's running a campaign that is garbage because he's trying to run as Donald Trump 2.0. Ron DeSantis is not as, I don't want to say charismatic, but he's not funny. Okay. He's just not funny. He's grown up as an elitist. Okay. He's, I think, a senator or representative before becoming governor. And then before that, he was a high ranking military official. And he is an elitist, and that's okay. I'm not going to be mean to you because you have money, Ron. You can have money and be a good politician. There are good politicians out there. I don't like that. Ron DeSantis, he does profess Christ and I think God, and I think that's where he comes from. However, like I said, Ron is not a funny guy, and he's trying to run himself as funny. Donald Trump is hilarious. I mean, like he captivates an audience because people are waiting for some sort of joke. Like Donald Trump coming out and saying, "This room's got like 104 degrees. I'm sweating. I'm sweating." And then he goes, "The news media back there in the back row." You know, if you've ever been to a Trump rally, you know he's funny. Ron DeSantis isn't. And that's okay. You don't have to be funny. You don't have to be just like Donald Trump, dude. Run your own campaign. Being a jerk is where where I like you. When he goes after the media, when he is kind of authoritarian, it's almost like a like an enforcement or like a dad vibe, like the angry dad. When he's the angry dad, that's his selling point. And it's okay to be angry. So whoever he's surrounding himself around, I think he fired another campaign manager. He's gone down in the polls. I mean, by a lot. And yeah, I just think that he needs to hone his craft of being this angry dad and being kind of like this authoritarian type where he goes in and he says, "Nope, you lost your job." Um, I think that's where he would really start to see his polls go up, but he's still stuck on trying to be this funny, charismatic Donald Trump off brand, and it's just not working for him. What if I were to tell you that the kids can't read and they can't do math at Peoria School District 150, actually in all Illinois school districts, because Unit 5, they have a little bit better numbers than these, but not by much. So we've got 5 out of every 100 Black students can read at grade level in the Peoria School District 150. In math, it's just 2 out of every 100. This is sad. This is very sad. In one high school, proficiency rates on the SAT in math are at 0% for all races. So at one high school, there is nobody passing that SAT. Nobody. That's really sad. And Wire Points, they've got the data on this. And Ted Dabrowski, I'm going to be getting to his comments, but he says we need to acknowledge the problem because we can't fix the problem if we don't acknowledge it. You need to vote out Democrats if you want your kids to read. I'm sorry, but what these school boards, all they care about is inflating salaries. That's all they care about. And specifically inflating the salaries of these elitist superintendents who demand higher salaries and get those higher salaries. So we're going to be touching on that story here in just a little while. But first, Peter Doocy. He's back. He took paternity leave. But Joe Biden flips out on Peter Doocy for asking him to his face about calling into Hunter Biden's business meetings. So Peter Doocy had the stones to actually ask Joe Biden to his face about these business dealings and meetings, and Joe Biden just loses it. In Stockton, California, the California mayor announced that these 7-Eleven workers are not, I repeat, not being charged for this epic beatdown of this looter who came into the 7-Eleven, tried to steal things, threaten their lives. And these 7-Eleven workers said, enough's enough. We're tackling this guy. We're beating him with a stick. And the video went viral and people are like, oh my gosh, how could they do that to him? How could they do that to the criminal? And I thought for sure that the California mayor there in Stockton probably would have charged the people who were beating the criminal with something instead of, oh, I don't know, going after the criminal, because anymore, everywhere in a blue city, get out of blue cities, get out of blue states, just do it. Go to a purple state and move to a red area. That's where you're going to make the most difference. Here in the state of Illinois, I just think it's gone. But I was shocked to see that this guy, I think his name's Kevin, he's a mayor there. He said that the store clerks are not and have never been suspects of any kind of crime. So that's really great news. Ron DeSantis removing another Soros-backed prosecutor after 2 police officers were shot. That was the final straw, and Ron DeSantis said, enough's enough. You're gone. Sorry, Monique. That's the name of the prosecutor. So we're going to get to that story, but first, Doocy is back. He's back on top. So Peter Doocy, he's been gone for a few months because he was on paternity leave, had a really cute baby, has a really, really cute baby, and he returned, of course, providing us with the sorely missed content. I love Peter Doocy clips. Joe Biden welcomed him back, of course, with an old man meltdown. He was losing it because Peter Doocy had the stones to, oh, I don't know, do his job as a journalist. So what was Doocy's sin? Well, he walked up to Joe Biden and he asked him the question, yo, so Hunter Biden's meetings, were you on speakerphone during these meetings? So let's take a listen here. Of course, it was a question about Hunter Biden's business dealings because nobody is asking Joe Biden the questions that need to be asked surrounding these business dealings and how Joe would allegedly call into his second favorite son, because God knows that Hunter Biden is not the favorite boy, his second favorite son's meetings with these foreign business partners, and he'd be on speakerphone. So, here's Peter Doocy. We're going to play this clip and the question that Peter Doocy asks. Here we go. And this was yesterday.
Associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them talking business. Is that what?
Never talk business in England. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Thank you. There's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them talking business.
So there you have it. Peter Doocy, he just asks him the question. Look, there is a former business associate who is making sworn testimony that you were on speakerphone talking about business while they were in meetings. And I love how the goalposts about how much shady money Joe Biden has made is always moving. The goalpost always moves. First, it was Joe never discussed business with Hunter. Then it was Joe never talked with Hunter's business partners. And then it was Joe never discussed business with Hunter's business partner. Hunter's business partners. Okay. So that's what they've said. And now, fast forward to today, they are saying that you can't prove that $20 million have been going through 20 different Biden shell companies was actually being paid to Joe Biden. They were money laundering. Okay. Allegedly. And this $20 million, we know, and Politico, I think this was now it's been deleted. Politico tweeted this out. They said, GOP House Oversight Chair James Comer rolled out a new memo identifying over $20 million in payments from entities or individuals in Russia and Ukraine to Biden family members. So Politico deleted that tweet. There were a bunch of corporate journalismers who were like, this memo doesn't show a direct payment to Joe Biden or his family. It went to these Biden shell companies. So it was never really directly actually paid to Joe. Doocy's question was about Devin Archer's testimony and that he and Hunter sold access to Joe and that Hunter put Joe on the phone with clients over 24 times. That's what the testimony says from Devin Archer. I think that this is the first time anybody's ever asked Joe Biden about this. Weird, right? Why wouldn't reporters be asking about this? This is part of Devin's testimony. I'm just going to read it. About the Ukraine energy company that paid Hunter a ludicrous amount of money for a job that he had no experience in. So here's the testimony. While they were sitting outside a bar, a senior Burisma executive phoned to ask where they were because the Burisma owner, Mykola Zolochevsky, needed to speak to Hunter urgently. Soon afterward, the two Ukrainians, the Burisma executive and the Burisma owner, joined Hunter and Archer at the Four Seasons bar, and the Burisma executive asked Hunter, can we ring your dad? Can we ring your dad? Devin Archer's testimony came at the heels of a confidential FBI source stepping forward to say that Hunter and Joe both told the CEO of Burisma to retain his son on that board seat, on the Burisma board. which came at the heels of the FBI knowing that the Hunter Biden laptop was real the entire time, which came on the heels of this whistleblower testifying before Congress that and this whistleblower was someone who worked on the Hunter Biden tax investigation, and he said he blew the whistle. He says there were a lot of people in Joe Biden's government that didn't want us working on the Hunter Biden tax investigation case. Doocy, he's still getting readjusted, getting back to work. I can't wait to see what more he comes up with and what questions he asks. I do want to switch some gears. If you're watching online, go ahead, smash that like button. If you want to watch online, you can find us at Facebook. I'm on YouTube. That's Cat Peterson 929. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm also on Rumble. Smash the Rumble button and share this out with your normie friends. It's so important that we get actual information out there and that we show people, hey, look at Joe Biden snapping on this reporter for literally no reason. Look at him snapping. Now, I do want to talk about Stockton, California. So this was a big story. These 7-Eleven workers were beating these robbers. Okay, so they were fighting off these robbers, and really they tackled this robber to the ground and they started beating him with a stick. It did look brutal out of the video. I don't think that it really hurt him all that bad, though. I don't think that he sustained really serious injuries. They just subdued him. Okay. And that takes some effort to subdue a grown man. But these 7-Eleven workers in California, it's been confirmed now that they are not the subjects of an investigation. They're not under any kind of active investigation by Stockton PD. And the mayor, Kevin Lincoln, sent out a statement and he said, California state law hinders businesses daily by increasing shoplifting incidents and decreasing law enforcement's ability to hold accountable those responsible for such acts, shoplifting incidents. So he's blaming the California state law for this incident. And what happened, and I'm just going to explain the video here for you. A man in a mask started looting the shelves in the 7-Eleven. He went behind the counter and started throwing all of these cigarettes and things into a trash can. At one point, we can see the guy in the video reach into his back pocket as the employees approach him. In the video, the guy filming says, just let him go. There's nothing you can do. But the suspect attempts to leave with the trash can full of products, and then an employee from the 7-Eleven tackle him to the ground. And another employee can see in the video, you can see him take the pole and start beating the suspect with like some sort of stick. Now, this isn't the first incident with this guy. The day before, the 7-Eleven employees reported this guy who entered the business, went behind the counter again, threatened to shoot the victim, threatened to shoot the employees if he had intervened with him trying to loot them. And the suspect took several packets of cigarettes and then took all kinds of things off the shelves and put it in a garbage bag. The next day, the employees reported that the same suspect from the previous incident had entered into the business, demanded money, and then he was kind of mimicking a handgun. I think he put his hand under his shirt and kind of mimicked a handgun and said that if the employee didn't comply, the suspect would hurt him. So he took a bunch of items, this guy did. And, good for the employees for defending themselves, defending the property of the business. In the past, we've seen corporations like Lowe's, Circle K, fire employees for doing this kind of thing. For much less, actually. If there was a Circle K woman, she just kind of touched the criminal who was looting the store and went behind the counter to take some cigarettes. And she just kind of shoved him a little bit and she was fired. And she, was suing the company. And then Lowe's, same thing. She kind of just pushed their cart. They had loaded up a cart, these looters, to try to push out the cart and steal all of these items. And she just kind of gave them a little bit of resistance. And then she got fired. Although she was the one who got punched in the face by these looters and robbers. So it's nice to see. This is almost like a breath of fresh air to see a mayor in blue state California actually stand up for these 7-Eleven employees, the people who were defending themselves against these looters. All right, I do have to take a break. This has been the Morning Buzz. We've got more show for you. Ron DeSantis, he tweeted out in all caps, law and order at 3 a.m. in the morning today. No, he didn't actually do that. Sad. But he did remove another week on crime Soros-backed prosecutor. He does not tweet out the words law and order in all caps. Only Donald Trump would do something that cool. But he did get rid of a Soros-backed prosecutor who let this guy out. And what this guy wound up doing was shooting 2 officers in the face. So they should have been in jail this guy should have been in jail a long time ago. I've got the story here next on the Morning Buzz. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream. Go ahead, smash that Rumble button if you're watching on Rumble. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Cat Peterson 929. Now, there's a story that I was kind of waiting, and I was like, maybe I should go ahead and wait on this for tomorrow, but I think I'm going to hit it today. The Normal City Council, they approved a plan for Uptown South. So this is going to get really hyper local for Normal. Okay, so buckle up. So there's a development, and it's in Uptown South, or it's an Uptown Normal, and this is called Uptown South. I think it's like Uptown 2.0. I don't understand because there's so many different developments, and really, I don't even understand. I mean, what ones are finished, what ones aren't. From what I understand, Uptown 1.0, which is Trail East, Trail West, and there's no underpass. All of this is not finished. Okay, um, and the discussion about Uptown South, what the discussion was really interesting because they're planning on banning natural gas from this development, and they all voted for it to be all electric and electricity only, which is green leaning crap. Now, Councilmember Scott Preston, Kathleen Lorenz, Andy Byers all objected to Uptown South being the plan banning natural gas and being only electric. Karen Smith, the councilwoman, said that she wanted the plan to be aspirational, whatever that means. I have no idea what that means, but she said she wanted it to be left in the plan as aspirational. Like, I would imagine like it's a goal, maybe like, okay, all electricity would be a goal of ours. If we can't do it, then, it is what it is. So, Preston, I'm kind of shocked. I don't like a lot of what Preston says most of the time, but this was actually pretty good. It's not the town's place to be pushing that kind of agenda. Not a single resident in the town has come forward in the public process and said that they were all for electricity. That is something that the consultant that I voted against the last time came out of California, came in, and he and his contractors put this in the plan. That's not something that came from this community. Great job, Scott. I mean, round of applause, and good job because he actually voted at the end of the day against this thing. Chris, the mayor, said that it's not being economically feasible for the developer is no longer important because climate change requires immediate action. He's a kook. Chris is a kook. That's absurd. Here we go. We're going to be back here in just a second. I'll go through the rest of the story. All right, I'm kind of shocked that Chris Coos didn't name himself the Citizen of the Year. Tom Davis telling you about, I think his name is Roger, who got Citizen of the Year. So congratulations. I'm shocked that he didn't name himself Citizen of the Year because that seems like something Chris Coos would do. And I've got a story for you about Chris Coos. So Chris Coos, our mayor, he says that it's not about being economically feasible. It's not about, the taxpayer anymore. It is literally all about climate change, and climate change requires immediate action. So being economically feasible for this developer who's going to be developing Uptown South 2.0 is no longer important. Your money? I could care less. That's essentially what Chris Goose said here about Uptown South and them banning natural gas from this development. So, background. There's a lot of developments in Uptown Normal, and I can't even keep them all straight. And I'm sure neither can you if you live in Normal. So Uptown 1.0, which I think is Trail East and Trail West. And guys, if I mess this up, just relax, okay? Just give me a text, 309-451-9299 if I mess this up. I think I've got it right, though. From what I'm understanding, Uptown 1.0 isn't even finished yet. You want to know what else isn't finished? That underpass. That's all not finished. None of these developments are finished. And there's a lot of vacancies in Uptown. I think the last time I checked, there were about 10 vacancies in Uptown, which means that they're developing these things and they're not filling these vacancies. So they're doing all these developments, and if they manage to finish them, they aren't even utilizing the developments and making money off of it. So there we have that. So it looks like there was this first floor of some sort of development with this 1.0 that's not even finished it's not even completed yet. But there was this first floor that took them some time to build out, and it was vacant, but it looks like there might be a new restaurant going into that. So that's good. But Normal what they've done now is approved this plan for Uptown South, which I think is Uptown 2.0. I can't even keep it straight. And that's the whole point. They want to confuse you with all of these different developments and names, and they want to call it different things. So Uptown South was approved, despite all of these other developments not even being finished. And like I said, even the little bit that they have gotten done, they're not filling these vacancies, these buildings that they're these businesses or these apartment buildings, offices, things like that. They're not even being filled. So they approved this Uptown South despite all that. And here's the kicker. Uptown South, the master plan, it bans natural gas now. And I don't know if they really even passed an ordinance that says that they could do this. And even if they did pass that ordinance, I don't know if that's necessarily legal, because there's court precedent here that says that that's not legal, and people have been sued for this kind of thing. So Uptown South is going to be built out, and it's supposed to be all electric. So council members Scott Preston, Kathleen Lorenz, and Andy Byers, which is kind of funny that he objected to it, because at the end of the day, he switched sides and voted for the Uptown South plan. So he really wasn't against it. Okay. At the end of the day, I don't care if you object to something. If you vote for it, then your objection is just kind of silly. So why even object to it at all, Andy Byers? I have my own reasons why I think that Andy Byers objected to it, and he wound up voting for it instead. But we'll get to that maybe. But the council members, Scott Preston, Kathleen Lorenz, Andy Byers, they objected to it. Kathleen Lorenz, Scott Preston, they actually had the stones here, and I'm going to give them credit where credit's due. And I don't do that often, especially not for folks like Scott Preston and Kathleen Lorenz on that council. A lot of times they vote for taxes, increasing taxes. This was actually a good vote on their behalf. They voted it down. Now, was it just kind of a, hey, look at me, I'm voting this down kind of thing? And they knew that they were going to get the votes anyway to get this thing passed. And they just kind of said, hey, look at me, I'm objecting to this and I'm voting it down. To kind of give the optics that this wasn't a rubber stamped development. Could be. I think so. But I like what Scott Preston says here. It's not the town's place to be pushing this kind of agenda. Not a single resident in the town came forth in the public process and said that they want all electric for this development. That's something that the consultant that I voted against last time out of California came in, and him and his contractors put into this plan. That's not something that came from this community. Love that. Yes. Wow, what a concept. Listening to the public, listening to your constituents. Chris Coos, the mayor, Chris Kook, sorry. He said that, being economically feasible is no longer an option because climate change is something that needs to have immediate action. It requires immediate action. I'm sorry. I barely could say that with a straight face. I just can't believe it, man. Okay, so then Loren, she actually brings this up. She goes, it's very expensive these days to build, which is true. Inflation, materials costs, the fewer restrictions and requirements we put on the developers, especially now, the better. Yeah. Considering our taxpayer dollars are going towards this, right? For them to develop this thing out. This isn't a private developer, right? This is the town. The town is developing this. And they're doing it with our taxpayer dollars. So Chris doesn't care about your money. He doesn't care that he's being economically wise or economically feasible for the developer, because it's not his money. It's your money. So this is crazy because we would be one of the first municipalities in the nation to be doing something like this, pulling off an all-electric development of this size, and the town is behind this development. This isn't a private developer coming in. This isn't, selling this off to a private developer. The town is behind this development. And like I said, I don't even know if it's legal making an all-electric development like this, because I've got precedent here. It's a case coming out of California. California Restaurant Association, they sued Berkeley, California over this ordinance making natural gas pipelines illegal to install in one building. So Berkeley, California, being the wokesy green weenies they are, said, nope, you can't put in your gas stoves, restaurant. And the restaurant got peeved off and they were like, okay, we're going to sue you. And it turns out that the court found that the city in California actually violated what's called the Energy Policy and Conservation Act because the ordinance indirectly regulated appliances that use natural gas. So they were trying to do this roundabout thing. And the judge here, I'm just going to quote the judge here, states and local municipalities can't skirt the text of broad provisions by doing indirectly what Congress says that they can't do directly. So I don't know. The question of legality here, I thought should have been brought up, but it wasn't brought up by neither Preston, Lorenz, Byers, who said that they all objected to this. I think it's interesting that Byers switched side. So eventually the plan was approved with the banning of natural gas and all electricity. It was a vote 5-2. Byers switched sides. So there you have it. I know that's hyper local stuff. I know that normal lights everywhere probably are peeved off that this got passed, just like Uptown Point 1.1 or 1.0, just like Trail East, Trail West, just like the underpass, right? We're all peeved off because they're not finishing these projects. They're not filling these developments with people who pay rent. So they just passed another one. I'm going to be back. Let's talk a little bit about I do want to talk about Peoria High Schools or Peoria School District 150 and how bad they're doing when it comes to reading comprehension, math comprehension, especially among the Black students. So I'll be back next. If you're watching right now, go ahead, smash that like button. Yes, Mayor Chris Coos, sorry. He is all about climate change, and he says that we need to put the economy on the back burner, and we really need to focus on climate change. Dude, I just I don't think I need to say much more. Okay. So that's what your mayor believes is that screw the economy, screw using more taxpayer dollars to pay for this thing. We're going to address climate change because that's a more pressing issue. You vote for this, Normal. You vote for this. I don't know what your problem is. We are going to be back talking about the Peoria School District. I do want to talk about Ron DeSantis and how he got rid of this Soros-backed DA. Just a couple of cases that this Soros DA took on. Her name is Monique. Now, Monique, she's behind this November 2022 17-year-old Lorenzo Larry shooting and killing his pregnant girlfriend. And Larry had previously been arrested in May of 2022 for concealing a firearm, carrying a concealed firearm when he wasn't supposed to be, possession of a firearm on school property, criminal possession of a firearm by a minor. So he has all these priors. And he winds up shooting his pregnant girlfriend. And Larry was released after all of these arrests. Like he's out. He's out. And there's another case here where Monique's office did not act on any of these charges. Where his name is Randall Friedrichs. He was arrested for. Oh, no. Here we go. There was this guy, another minor arrested for first-degree murder charges with a firearm. And there was a shooting that this minor committed, and it's on tape, so he killed somebody. And a month later, Monique's office filed petition to reduce the charge from murder to a firearm possession. That minor was placed on probation. So there you have it. Pro-criminal. Just pro-criminal. Randall Friedrichs, another one. Where he was arrested in 2020 for possession of child pornography. In August of 2022, he was charged with 45 counts. But by February of 2023, her office, Monique's office, reduced that number to 10. Now, under the law, each count carries 15 years. So he was just sentenced to 130 months in jail, whereas if he were to be charged with all 45, he would have been in prison for much longer. So we're going to be getting to that be sure to smash that like button. Good morning. Good morning, Darren. I so do appreciate it. Every Republican, let me look at this, state's attorney where Hunter committed these crimes should bring charges against him. Yes. Yes. And Joe Biden. So all of these, like, I think Joe Biden committed, like, maybe these classified documents crimes driving around Arizona, Kentucky. I think that there's definitely places where we can start to indict Hunter or Joe Biden even. And Republicans need to play this game. And what pisses me off is James Comer is out there writing a memo about how $20 million was funneled into Joe Biden's shell companies. Okay. Now we've got reporters and journalismers who are out there saying, well, you can't prove that that $20 million went to Joe Biden and his family because they're through the shell companies. It's money laundering. So they're sitting there saying that you can't prove it. Wait a second. I thought you're moving the goalpost. It used to be Joe Biden didn't know anything about his son's business dealings, but his business partners are paying these shell company accounts. And wait a second, you're moving the goalpost. Which is it? He never discussed Hunter Biden's business dealings, or did he actually collect money from Hunter Biden's business partners? I don't know. I think you know. So we need to start playing the same game the left does. And that would be to indict Joe Biden for classified documents cases. We need to figure out what red areas we can indict him in and actually get a conviction and play the same game, okay, that they're doing with Donald Trump with this Jan 6 case, with the 40-plus charges in Mar-a-Lago, with Alvin Bragg and the Stormy Daniels fiasco. We need to be playing this same game with Joe Biden. If they are going to sit there and arrest and convict their political opposition, we need to be willing to do the same thing. And I'm afraid that Republicans, they're just going to be sending out memos. I'm going to send a strongly written letter. Okay, James Comer. Okay. Like, come on. Let's actually impeach the guy. I think we got enough for grounds of impeachment. This is, I mean, he should have been impeached with Afghanistan and that withdrawal. That he killed people. Okay, so indirectly, Joe Biden killed those people in Afghanistan. I think there's plenty to impeach him on. So we're going to be back. Jacqueline, thanks so much for chiming in. Like I said, would you vote for Donald Trump if he was behind bars, if he was convicted behind bars? And do you think the regime is going to put him behind bars? All of this and more ahead on Morning Buzz. Woo! Good morning. Ron DeSantis. He's going after this wokesy Soros-backed DA. Good for him. Good for him. He removed yet another weak on crime Soros-backed prosecutor from office after 2 cops got shot in the face by someone who should have been in jail. Sad story. Pray for their families. Pray, 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 pray. Lord, please come. Please come. Via executive order, this Monique Worrell is her name. She's the attorney who is backed by a group tied to Democrat benefactors, George Soros. So she was removed from her post via executive order for, quote, dereliction of duty. So the governor's office said in a statement that the practices and policies of her office have allowed murderers, violent offenders, and dangerous drug traffickers to receive extremely reduced sentences and escape full consequences of their criminal conduct. In some cases, these offenders have avoided incarceration altogether. This was the final straw. This took place this past weekend. A man who was arrested in 2023 for sexual battery of a minor and molestation. Oh, I'm just enraged. I am enraged. He was on probation for a past offense. He was allowed out on bail by this woman, Monique, this DA. And guess what he does? He shoots 2 police officers. Wow, who could have seen that one coming? Here's Ron DeSantis taking to the podium and making this announcement about how he is removing this DA.
Serve.
Here we go.
It means we have strong policies to hold criminals accountable for their misconduct. Prosecutors have a duty to faithfully enforce the law. One's political agenda cannot trump this solemn duty. Refusing to faithfully enforce the laws of Florida puts our communities in danger and victimizes innocent Floridians. Accordingly, I am today announcing the suspension of State Attorney Monique Worrell from the Ninth Judicial Circuit effective immediately. I'm appointing Judge Andrew Bain to take over as State Attorney for the Ninth Judicial Circuit. Judge Bain is currently a judge in Orlando. He is a native Floridian. He attended University of Miami, where he played football, and he received his law degree from Florida A&M Law School. And I trust that he will be a prosecutor that faithfully enforces the law and will keep the communities of Central Florida safe.
So there you have it. There's Ron DeSantis's announcement. And, you know, I think he needs to stay as governor. I really do. After seeing this, he needs to stay where he is and do the work that he needs to do there. Leave World War III to Donald Trump. He said that he's going to take care of it and that he's the only president, and I believe the only presidential candidate who can take on and stop World War III from happening. But Ron DeSantis, stay there. Do the good work that you're doing right now. Like I said, this was a final straw thing. This woman, I mean, here's a case. 17-year-old Lorenzo Larry shot and killed his pregnant girlfriend. Larry had previously been arrested in May of 2022. He had all kinds of gun charges. He brought a firearm onto school property. He was in criminal possession of a firearm as a minor. He was released on all those arrests. And then he finally kills this pregnant girlfriend of his. And that's only then did they actually bother pressing him with any kind of charges. She didn't act on any of those charges in 2022, in May of 2022, only after he killed his girlfriend and their unborn child. Another story, in October of 2022, a minor was arrested for first-degree murder. The shooting was caught on video. You can see the kid shoot somebody, this minor, and evidence of him killing somebody in cold blood. And then she reduces his charge from murder all the way down to firearm possession. This guy was placed on probation. The guy who's seen on video killing somebody, he's not charged with murder. No. He's charged with possession of a firearm. Okay. Another one, child pornographer. He was in possession of child pornography in 2022, 45 counts by February of 2023. Her office reduced that number down to 10, just 10. And under the law, each of these counts carries 15 years. So his sentence was really, really reduced to 130 months. Good day for Sheriff Grady content. I love Sheriff Grady. Grady Judd is his name, and he's out of Florida. And he took to the podium when Ron DeSantis announced that he was firing this George Soros-backed DA. And it's always great content when we've got Sheriff Grady out there. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
You know, before I turn the podium over to my colleague and dear friend, I want to show you a popular meme. This is fine. As the house is on fire, our little hot dog here says this is fine. He was a dog, now he's a hot dog because he's a house on fire. Well, I have another one. Monique Worrell says this is fine. The fact that 2 police officers were shot in the face, this is fine. Despite criminals not being prosecuted, this is fine. Despite violent criminals victimizing people in the community, this is fine.
This is fine. This is fine. It's not fine. So Ron DeSantis, he kicked her out, and he also kicked out another Soros-backed attorney. We remember this. It was Andrew Warren. He wasn't enforcing laws either. And I don't know about you, but it's kind of the job description. And I like what Ron DeSantis says here. We're not going to allow this pathogen of ignoring the law to get a foothold in the state of Florida. And I'm sure the media is going to cry. They're going to be like, Ron DeSantis, he can't do that. It's an executive order. He's a dictator. He can't do that. He's an authoritarian. And then they're going to accuse him of some sort of anti-Semitism because Soros allegedly is a Jewish man. I don't know too much. I don't think so. But Ron DeSantis doesn't give a hoot. He does not care. And he fired this woman. Good. I'm going to be back. We're going to talk about Peoria because, wow, these numbers suck. These kids can't read. They can't do math. But yet we're approving all of these raises for teachers who are failing at their job of simply teaching the kids to do math and read. I don't know why we're approving all of these salary increases for superintendents here locally. I'm going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is Cities 92.9. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. We've talked about so much today. Very packed show. I am going to end the show with Peoria school districts because WMBD did a bit on Ted Dabrowski. And I think it's a really good bit where he says that we have to start to acknowledge the problem here, folks. We have to start to acknowledge that um, the scores are not good. The scores suck. Actually, in Peoria District, School District 150, also in Unit 5, Bloomington District 87, it's everywhere. I mean, the kids can't read, they can't write, they can't do math, and yet we are passing them and they are graduating. Okay, that's what the numbers tell us, that they're all graduating and, don't look over here, the kids can read. Come on. So wire points, they say that their main goal is to get those who run the schools, superintendents, and these districts, the State Board of Education, to acknowledge the poor results and to take ownership of that. And once you take ownership of that, then we can begin to fix the problem. We shouldn't be lowering expectation of these children. We should be having high expectations, and they should be acting accordingly to those high expectations. We need to vote Democrats out if you want your kids to be able to read. Very simple. Vote Dems out if you want your kids to be able to read. Democrat progressive school boards, they install superintendents and they give them raises. Superintendents demand higher salaries. Unit 5, I'm just going to say this a few weeks ago, for a 4-year agreement, this teachers union, they fought for these full-time staff to get starting salary of $40,000 a year. Could get up to $42,000 over the next 4 years, 2027, which you look at that number and then you compare it to the superintendent salary, which was also worked into this. 4% raise for the superintendent for Unit 5 in the upcoming school year, which is going to bring her base salary to $206,000. $206,000 for the year of 2023, 2024. And then get this, possible raises through 2027. So she could get another one next year. And I want to point this out. The teachers who have been there for 30 plus years, very experienced teachers, they get about half of what Dr. Weichel gets. Okay. They get about half, $100,000 maybe, for being an experienced teacher of 30 plus years. Paying people who aren't teaching the children, and numbers don't lie. The children are not learning jack. They aren't learning. Okay, they're not learning anything. The numbers don't lie. The scores prove that. And I don't know why we continue to pay teachers so much money. And I know that people are going to be like, how could you say such a thing? I don't give a hoot. I don't care if it's controversial. I love teachers. I wanted to be a teacher. So shut up. It's not that I don't care about teachers. And I do think that they are underpaid. However, when you look at things like the median salary for the state of Illinois, it's $38,000. I just read to you that they're making $40,000. So that's more than the median salary for an income or median income here in the state of Illinois. They're making more than that. Plus, they get benefits. Okay, they get benefits, they get pensions. They're working 180 days out of the year. They get summers off. So when you really look at it, are they underpaid? And I'm one of those people who would say, yes, let's pay the teachers all kinds of money. And I want to remind us that Unit 5 threatened the extracurriculars, the sports programs, and things like that to get you to vote for their salary increases. And if you voted for that, shame on you. Really. I'm sick of it. This morning I'm sick of it, and I'm not playing cutesy time anymore. I'm sorry I don't usually get this way, but it's so clear. It's so clear what's happening, and I wish that people would open their eyes. Just like look up. Look at what's going on. Why does your kid come home every night and say that they don't understand and that they need help with their homework? Why is that happening? Okay, we're going to come back. And then if you're watching, go ahead, smash the like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's very simple. Just Cat Peterson 929. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to talk about Peoria here in just a minute.
Sydney's 92.9 Sports.
Good road win for the Cardinals last night. They beat Tampa Bay at Tropicana Field 6-4. After falling behind 2-1 in the second, the Cards got the bats going as the Birds grabbed the lead in the third, and Paul Goldschmidt's 2 RBI single in the fourth gave St. Louis everything they would need to win. Cards and Rays finished the series tonight at 5:40. Mets beat the Cubs 3-2. White Sox hammered the Yankees 9-2. Former Las Vegas Raiders receiver Henry Ruggs III sentenced Wednesday to 3 to 10 years in prison for a November 2021 drunken driving crash that killed a Las Vegas woman and her dog. Ruggs could be eligible for parole after 3 years. I'm Chris Murphy, Cities 92.9 Sports.
Peoria Public School is being recognized statewide, but not for the right reasons.
An Illinois data nonprofit says more attention needs to be paid to PPS's high school students' low reading and math comprehension. Our Shab Dominez joins us live in studio now to break down these numbers. Shab.
Durante, Rebecca, there's a lot of numbers to sift through here, but the major takeaway is that the Peoria Public Schools are underperforming based on these metrics alone. However, Peoria Public Schools is pushing back, saying there's a lot more that goes into education than numbers.
I think what really matters is that if the state is going to set standards, then we should meet those standards.
Illinois data nonprofit WirePoints blasting Peoria Public Schools students' low math and reading SAT scores and calling for action.
Well, I think what's missing are some very serious goals to get that education level up. The first thing I think that needs to happen is we need to acknowledge the problem, because we can't fix the problem if we don't acknowledge it.
According to Illinois State.
So there you have it. WirePoint's Ted Dabrowski blasting here the Peoria Public School System. That's District 150 we're looking at today. Here's the stats. Just 5 out of every 100 Black students in that school district can read at grade level. That's sad. Just 2 out of every 100 can do math at grade level. Only in one high school, proficiency rates on the SAT in math are at 0%, meaning the scores, they suck for all races, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, all of it. They aren't performing well. And we have to acknowledge the problem. And we have to acknowledge that this is a direct result of the people who run the system. Democrat progressive school boards, they install superintendents who demand higher salaries. Unit 5, they approved these contracts with this teachers union, the Unit 5 Education Association. They worked out this contract to where full-time staff is going to be getting paid $40,000 a year base pay, and that's going to increase to $42,000 a year by 2027. Okay, so they raised up the teacher salaries. That's base. And here's my favorite part about this contract. It includes a 4% raise for the superintendent for the upcoming school year. And her annual base salary now with that raise, $206,000. $206,000, 2023 to 2024. That's her base pay, our base salary. And then she gets possible raises through 2027. So she could make even more money. And I want to point this out. Teachers with 30 plus years of experience make about half that. I also want to point this out. The teachers who are making $40,000, $42,000 a year base salary, starting salary, that's higher than the median income made by people in the state of Illinois. $38,000 is the median income here in the state of Illinois. And they're making more than that. They get pensions, they get health care, they get things like that. And they're working 100 days or 80 days out of the year. Just when, and I know that's controversial, but I'm just giving you the numbers. Okay. We need to stop paying people who are not teaching the kids. And I'm all for paying them if the results are there. And we don't need to be lowering our expectations of these children. We need to be raising our expectations of these children, and they need to act accordingly, these kids, to those high expectations. We need to acknowledge the problem, and we need to fix it. I agree, Ted Dabrowski. That's going to do it for our show today. I'm going to be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to be back here on the Morning Buzz, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Glenn Beck is up after me. Then it's Dan Bongino, Sean Hannity, and Mark Levin. Is service of the Door Doctor. Lower your utility bill with a properly insulated garage door.
Bye-bye, guys. I
Professionally
love you so
installed
much,
by
Ken.
the Door
Be sure to
Doctor.
go ahead
Get
and
ready to
like
take your
that
business to the
article.
next level with PM Digital, your local digital superhero. We've got all the digital tactics you need, from cutting-edge strategies to competitive pricing. Say goodbye to uncertainty as we provide you with detailed monthly reports to track your progress. Don't wait any longer. Visit GreatPlainsMedia.com and revolutionize your online presence today with PM Digital. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details. PM Digital is not responsible for any overwhelming surge of business or subsequent feelings of awesomeness. Results may vary.
Bloomington Normal's most complete radio news starts now with Fox Radio News on Cities 92.9. WRPW, Colfax, Bloomington Normal. It's 9 o'clock.
Office spaces, these apartment buildings, they haven't built them. So, so be sure to go like that. I threw it in the comments section. Share this video out with your friends. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's Kat Peterson 929. You guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. Love you.